Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the late start today. Things to do today. It took a little longer than planned, but then again, not as long as planned. Hold on, hold on. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking. Welcome to DYOR Live. And I'm just all off here this morning with my intro. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media universe. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great show here with my great co-host, Pedro Garcia. Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening, Pedro?
Took along because I was able to do some backtesting on some stuff that I've been looking at. And I was quite happy with my backtesting, so it allowed me to really kind of watch it or walk it through the backtesting. And
well, that's good. So. That's good, Pedro. Yeah. Today is what, Pedro?
Technical Tuesday.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Technical Tuesday. the new way I have it playing the thing, I can't hear the music for that anymore. I used to like, and I like it. I like it, but it just goes out on the stream. Viewers, let us know if you heard the music, and it's not just us. Not our background music, but the Technical Tuesday show music. Anyway, it's Technical Tuesday. It is April 8th, 2025. Second day in a row of the markets all in a fluster. All in a fluster because of the changing economics of how the U.S. government taxes things, how companies import stuff, and how certain companies have a big tariff risk, and those companies are getting sold off, and other companies that don't have that big of a tariff risk, and those companies are just not selling off as much. And in typical modern day fashion, Bitcoin used to go up when the market went down, and now it trades at an exact ratio to the darn market. We talk about
3-to-1 ratio.
We talk about this every day here, pretty much. It's like why even trade anything other than the Nasdaq or the S&P 500? It's like gold. It's like when Bitcoin runs dominance over everything. Well, that's what's happening right now with the stock market and crypto.
But we talked about this. This isn't anything shocking to our people. When I first started with you, I said we will see Bitcoin running in conjunction with the market because they will adopt it. And when they adopt it, it's going to run so that they can basically make positions correct when the institutions really get involved. That sounded weird. What I meant is money will flow the way they want it to flow, in a nutshell.
Those with the most money set the rules. That's how it is. Where are my...
And America is setting the rules, it looks like now. We're tired of playing patty cake, and the rest of the world's kind of coming along with a lot of those tariffs. Getting a lot of people calling to saying,
Aloha Chumbalones, our Micronesian co-host du jour. Carmen, did you know, Pedro, that Carmen was from Micronesia?
I don't even know what
she's a Pacific Islander.
Oh, no, yeah, actually, I did know this. She
left
originally...
the beauty and the solitude of the Pacific Islands for Vegas.
I would too, man. I mean, when you think about Vegas, bro, and like Vegas is nice, dog. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but actually nice in the aspect of you can go into the solitude of the desert, right? Which is similar to like going on the solitude of like hiking and stuff like that.
Kill yourself.
I don't know. Kill yourself, basically. But then at the same time, you come right into the city, dog, and it's just like, bam, it's just humanity in all of its rawest form, man. It's like ancient Babylon, the fallen of any righteous idea, boom, it's the Sin City.
It's a city like Dubai, which I lived a long time. In Dubai, you could live in that city with everyone else at any economic zone you wanted. You could be a poor person and live in Dubai and live in labor camps, as they call them there, but employee housing, and be a bricklayer that works 12 hours a day in the sun and eat rice with your hands. And that economy is there. My economy is there, which is kind of eat some grocery food, some fast food, and go to a lot of Irish pubs. That's my economy. And then there's
where I can get drunk.
And then there's the Gulf Stream and Bentley economy there. You can live, and it's very, very similar demographics, or I should say economic demographics as Vegas. Anyway, Carmen, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us once again. Pedro, you opened up the show talking about backtesting something. Is it something that's going to tell me how to make money on BTC?
Well, you would actually have to understand a lot more than just me telling you the backtesting. But you're actually learning, so sooner or later you'll understand it. But as of right now, you're not there, and a lot of you guys, well, you would have to put in a lot of time, and most people are lazy. So,
is this your stream?
And I've been lazy too. I switched it up accidentally, so I was trying to pull something up, and
looks like someone's grabbing ass there.
No, it's Microsoft Bing's thing. And
yeah, I know, but just the way I have it cropped, the hand looks like it's grabbing someone's ass.
Oh, no, it's like the picture. I think it's like an Indonesian festival, and everybody's all dressed up, like. And anyways, it doesn't.
I've been to the Indo. Oh yeah, that looks normal now. I've been to the Indonesian embassy in Ottawa for their. Well, I mean, not to the embassy, but to their annual party, their National Day party for Indonesia, Malaysia, maybe Singapore too. They all have they'll have the cultural moment, in which they bring out people to do their native dance. And they all have outfits like that. Some exquisite outfits.
It's gorgeous, man. It's like legitly gorgeous. I absolutely think it's amazing. I like how they like India, anywhere in like the I hate to say this, any other culture outside of America, because we're very plain, right? Like there's not super colorful stuff here. Like even cultures from who come in and make America their home, right? Like many Asian cultures have come. They'll try to do what they do in their home nation, but because most people don't want to be almost like out there, right? They'll tone down their festivals and stuff. But when they're in their home country, man, it's like everywhere, right? Like whereas in America, it's a very small select group, and it's almost like an oasis, but in a sense, you're still in the middle of the desert / America. So I have I really like going. I have friends of mine who are Indian, and I'll go to their festivals. You know, they'll invite me to like Diwali, or I have a couple of friends of mine who invite me to Ramadan, and you know how they all dress up and everything's it's beautiful how they get things. I guess we could acquaint that to Christmas, right?
Oh,
where
yeah.
there's like
living in Dubai, we celebrated Christmas, Ramadan,
Diwali.
Ramadan. I mean, the amount of Indians in Dubai or in the UAE it's like half their workforce.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so and the locals there, they want you to celebrate your own holiday because they want a peaceful and normal workforce. They don't want crazy people there. And they even let people celebrate Hanukkah and Passover. They have a temple there and all that type of stuff. And,
I didn't know that. That's
but
really
the
cool.
Diwali, the guys, I mean, a lot
It's
of the
beautiful,
Indians,
bro.
Yeah, a lot of the Indians just fucked right off there too. They're like,
Well,
they're like, should we talk about you at Christmas? Huh? No work gets done then. Like, well, you got me there.
Dude, I was funny. I went to there was a festival. There was so my friend is part of a denomination within Hindi, and so we go there, and you know they have their own like guru and stuff like that. And so this weekend, I went there. He's like, "Come on over, man." And so I go out there and we eat, you know, and everybody. It's so interesting because the majority of the guys eat on the floor, like when they all gather like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not.
You're not built for
it. Yeah, that's the thing. Even when the guys he goes, you take up too much space, like in a sense, right? Because it's not that I'm fat. It's just that
it's a big guy.
I'm a big guy. I'm a very big dude. And he goes, you can sit on the table. And like the first couple times I tried, and you know, I was like, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and you could tell some of the guys, you know, and they're very accommodating to people outside of their culture, you know, wanting to experience. So like, you can eat on the table, bro, like you and your friend. And so I'm sitting there. So now he's like, why don't you just come? Because I don't want to eat on the floor, bro. So just come.
Pedro. It's okay.
Yeah, just come. He goes, why don't you just come? Just come. But actually, he's very American, so he doesn't do the head thing. He actually does it slightly though. He's like, well, I don't know. You know, but he doesn't, you know, but it's not really pronounced. Whereas like when I go around a lot of the guys there, you know, one of the guys I was talking to this weekend was literally, let's talk about, because I was talking to him about the market, and we can go right into it because we saw the sell-off on Sunday, what was happening. And I said, we saw it coming in on BTC, and because of BTC, I was like, okay, with the tariff, that was all the tariff craziness that happened on Friday, you're just going to see a continuation of it. We should see a gap down. And because you have it consolidate with BTC, and we saw it go up first on Sunday, and it started seeing a sell off on the middle, in the midday Sunday. So it shot, you know, here it is, Sunday. We saw it go up just a little
Pricing
and started
graphic's
kind of
not
remaining
updating.
right here. I do not know.
Oh, siren time again.
Hey, Siren Time is great, man. I love Siren Time. You know why Siren Time is so fun? Because it lets me know to pray for that person, whatever they're going through.
Yeah, that's well. You can tell what the reason, if it's a cop, if you hear the engine firewalled, that someone got shot or is getting shot. But if it's just the random stuff, they're like, oh, they're just late for coffee.
I'm not. I have so much respect. I actually have a lot of friends of mine now that are in. Probably like. I don't call them close friends, right? But they're just friends. Like if I was to say, hey, Mr. Cop friend here, what are your thoughts on this, right? As a cop, you know, like I mean that more like that friendship type of thing. But yeah, dude, we're already seeing all the top 16, 17 are selling off right now, and a lot of them are starting to go negative for the day. So they're all in like 0.2%, 0.4%, less than 8% here. Excuse me. Yeah, daily change percentage. So we're watching that right now as this is starting to keep going. Whereas volume is also picking up here as well. So with this actually movement here, that makes so much more sense there. Okay, daily change.
Where the hell is my... The great graphics machine is not doing so well here today. I'll have that up and running soon.
All right, so let's jump right into what we normally talk about here on Technical Tuesdays, and we will have fun. So first of all, let's check out the S&P 500. S&P 500 has been really dumping off because of what's been happening with, and I actually had somebody reach out to me and said, why do you really go over like, you know, the top tech companies? What's the point of that? And then I've never mentioned this, but I probably should, because there's a reason why I go over these here during this time. So the NASDAQ, which is what controls the the BTC, okay? Because it controls BTC now at a multiple of 3, which I've talked about this ad nauseum, 3x. So if NASDAQ moves 20 points or 100 points that day, Bitcoin is going to move about 300 points. And the thing that controls the NASDAQ are the top tech companies, which is NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, Apple, Tesla, Meta, Netflix, right? And so these are important because as these are selling off, then we see the NASDAQ sells off, which then we'll see the Bitcoin, or which we'll see Bitcoin sell off as well. So it's important to understand the relationship there. So, and then when we see the S&P 500 start to sell off, right, a lot of times it doesn't even matter what the NASDAQ does. If it's moving up, it will turn over, because kind of like the S&P 500, it's kind of like the bigger, just the bigger pool, the bigger trend, or the bigger, it just holds more stocks. So when it starts to roll over, the NASDAQ gets taken with it if we see the S&P 500 go. So that's why we start at the ES or the futures on the on this here. And so we can see here, I'm gonna take off some of these things here now, because we've hit these and now we've come down. My biggest thing that I'm looking at, the short-term stuff on the ES with S&P 500, is this 4,600 to 4662 area to the 4627 area. Now that we've closed below the 400 period moving average, which is typically the sign of a bear market, that's why I really run that through, right? And when I see, let's say, the 8 cross over the 400 period moving average, and the reason why I have that is typically the 400-day period moving average is about 20% of what the S&P 500, or 15%, 15 to 20% of the S&P 500. So when we see it get close to that, like we saw here, and we saw it explode up, it's always an indication that, hey, we're most likely going to continue down and this bear market is real. Okay, so You can see here that we've closed above the 400 period moving average, and then now we came back up to test the 8 period moving average today on the S&P 500. Remember, we saw it go up and then we came down here. So if we see a good amount of volume as we continue down, or just even average volume, that's the indication that it's going to keep continuing down as we move forward. And so my next area here is that 46.62, as well as the potential, if this thing really starts to see a sell-off, we can see the get up and go and potentially come back down quickly to that 3600 to 3500 area here. Remember, my main thing that I'm looking at is really down here at that 2200 area. Okay, where are we at? Is this November? Yeah, this is it right here. So this is the area that I'm really looking at. This is where am I? There's two areas that I'm looking at. It's this area here of the 3500, and then potentially down to this 2200. So the 35, 36 area to the 22 to the 21 area here. So these are going to be life-changing experiences for people. So if you weren't part of the 2008 situation, you will be able to sit there and say, I was a part of these higher time frames. So this was 2008 from 1500 all the way to 700, right? When what we saw, it was like 665 was the low of 2008 for the S&P 500-ish area. Again, this is future, so it's a little bit different. This sell-off here is basically restructuring of sellers, and it was really interesting to see. And the more I've been thinking about it is how Scott Bassett has really just simply said to the Federal Reserve, or really saying to JP Morgan, go F yourself right now. The truth is the American people don't own, really 80 to 90% of them don't really own any of this. So we need to restructure this so that they can actually start owning it. And it's going to be really interesting to sit there and see what actually happens with the board of director. And you're like, what do you mean JP Morgan? JP Morgan is one of the primary holders in the Federal Reserve. If you go through and you look at their people who invest and make money off of,
they're one of the owners of the Federal Reserve of New York.
Yeah, and the Federal Bank of New York is really the head boss of all the other Federal Reserves. Yes, they're independent, but they're kind of not, because they all talk to each other, and
it's an exclusive club. We'll call it that. It's a very exclusive club that you and I are not welcome in.
Nor probably will I ever be welcomed into it unless I become an absolute. I mean,
Pedro,
trillion.
I'll tell you what. This is what, when I become president.
Okay.
I'll just appoint you as the governor of the Bank of New York, and then you can have your way.
I would crush it.
Man, you walk in, all those guys in the suits and all that kind of stuff, and you walk in with your potions and your ball to sit on behind your desk. Yeah, you're fired. You're fired. Who are you?
No, not even that. I'll be like, all right, how are you helping people? How are you legitimately helping people?
Go downstairs, get all the gold, chop it up in little pieces, and just give it to everybody. All right, let's go.
No, I don't know about that one. Because that would just kill everything.
I've been down there. It was a
really
elementary school, because I went to school in Connecticut, and so we did a field trip to the Federal Reserve of New York, and they took us into the vault, saw the gold. Literally opened the door, it spins, it goes burp, like that. Went in, saw the gold.
What school did you go to, bro?
It's just a public school in Ridgefield. It wasn't a private school.
Oh, that's crazy, dog. Like that
I know. And a guy stood there and talked to us for about probably 20 minutes about, at the time in the 80s, 70s, how gold ruled the world and trade, and the things were labeled Switzerland, United Kingdom, and he says we keep gold for all the countries we do lots of business with, because then we can settle up accounts and we just move gold from one place to another. It's like, wow.
That is crazy.
I know. I know. It's like 10 or 11.
That is nuts. Do you think they would actually do? No, because there's no gold in there anymore. But would they even allow any, like? I wonder.
Yeah, sure. There's gold in the vaults in the Federal Reserve of New York. Of course there is.
I meant, would they open it up to the public like that?
I don't know, but they used to. I mean, there wasn't even security. We walked in as a group. The school bus pulled up and literally took the school bus and
Dude, that is...
drove into the city. Went to the Federal Reserve.
You know what? Next time I'm in New York, I'm gonna go over there and just like, hi. I know it's gonna sound weird. A friend of mine back in the 70s, he actually took a tour as a kid here. Do you guys give tours still, or are you guys gonna like, no, people are crazy. We're not gonna do that. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I just wanted to check and see if you did. But if they do, I'm gonna definitely go, and like that would be dope, because that's it. I think that the way they're doing it there, I mean, there's no way that they have gold there, because
well, where would it go?
It's a different world.
It's
a different world. Right, I get that. But what I'm saying is, every thug, I mean, there's just no way. If I was going, if somebody is a major criminal, that is just a sitting target for them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I mean, the place it's a brick shithouse. I mean, you're not getting into that place. I mean, it's like, you're not gonna rob the place. I mean, it's
Bro, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, and Ocean's 13 could totally do it, dude.
Man, that first Ocean's 11, when you figured out how they did it, I was like, who wrote that story? It's so great. I just looked online, and they suspended the tours after 9/11.
Makes sense.
They haven't brought it. They have a tour of the Federal Reserve periodically, but not of the gold vaults or any operational areas.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because
I think it must be an architectural tour then.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
It was awesome though. Literally, we saw my whole, I don't know, 5th grade class or whatever. We're just standing in the room, the gold, big signs, Switzerland. There were like, one even said South Africa, and it was
really?
Yeah, it was really cool. Back in the 70s, South Africa was still a major market, major manufacturing center of the world.
That's actually
no longer. Everyone ruined it. Don't take that the wrong way. Ruined it by they solved the problems they needed to solve there, but they didn't build upon their manufacturing legacy, and
the apartheid situation that greatly happened, which should have happened a long time.
No, and you got to use the word ending that.
Ending, thank you. Thank you. Ended apartheid, right? Which is absolutely. And now, I mean, some of the issues really today kind of stem from, they're like, it's like,
it's just, all you have to do is say,
it's like China.
But there's a thing you learn when you work in Africa. You just call it TIA. And it just stands for This is Africa. And you just understand how things just don't work there. Why doesn't that work anymore? This is Africa, and it's
TIA.
Yeah, TIA. Everyone used it, and even the locals. They'd be like, TIA, man. I used a Mexican accent.
Okay. Tom, we're all brown. So
all right. Before we get going here, I have to tell the rest of my story just to get it out of me, so you understand it. Today, I survived the impossible. I accomplished the impossible, and I survived it. And I'm not a bitter man. Today, I got my car, actually the one my daughter's driving, it was in Colorado for a long time. So it came back not registered, no city sticker, and parking zone pass. All 3 departments. One's the state, one is the county, and one is the city. Something like that. I had to go to 3 different places. And at each place I went, and get the emissions checked. I had to get the emissions checked. At each place I went to, there was no line, or just a tiny one. I showed up with the right paperwork. You have to have paperwork. And I got everything I needed without being rejected. Pedro, that is an impossibility. And I am, I think, the first person to accomplish.
Impossible.
Is that from Princess Bride?
Impossible. Yeah.
And I accomplished all of them. And every time I was with my daughter, with striking it, and I was like, it worked. It's right. So the car is legal to park. It is legal to drive, and it is illegal to just exist in the county of Cook County. I just can't believe it. And it's the first time my daughter has gone to all these driver facilities and stuff, city services facilities. As you may suspect, they're a little behind the times. They're trying to get everything online and all that, but it's still a little difficult. And she's like, that was a tour of the worst places that I've ever been. And I was like, yep. She goes, I didn't see many people that had teeth. I'm like, those are city employees. Anyway, side story aside, the more important thing, it's Technical Tuesday. Bitcoin is now at 76,000. Do I have the great pricing machine working again here? You were we're talking about that. We were talking about the dominance of the S&P 5, the stock market over everything else.
Yep.
And I believe you're starting to give everyone an exact price where to buy and make $1 million. Pretty much what yours about.
Yes, I'm going to try to help you guys make trillions and trillions of dollars by doing what I'm doing. And if you probably, here's the thing, with trillions and trillions of, how do you say it? I'm trying to get Trump's accent down, and I'm doing a horrible.
Me too. Me too.
I don't know how people do it.
I don't know how people
do it.
Trillions
of dollars. But I still sound like it's huge. Huge. I don't know. Yeah.
I think we have to go live in Palm Beach for a while. All right, let's see here. We need some viewers. For you, small amount of viewers that are out there today, share this with your friends.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
But, I'm trying to get Pixie from Ladies of Sol to come on, talk about Ice Raid and her projects and stuff.
Absolutely. That would be
like
great.
To get that towards the end of the latter half of the show after we go through the economic indicators, man. Where is my Telegram?
Are you doing it? Or?
I'm typing her. This is so exciting today, isn't it, people?
Well, let me go. So then I was waiting on you because you were doing stuff. So can I? You said you wanted to get your stuff out, so that's why I wanted to.
You can go right ahead.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go into this. I think it's really important to really understand what we're doing. So because what's happening with the S&P 500, and we're seeing it roll over, especially with what's going on in the tariffs. We've talked about this now since literally the reason why I have the month chart up here, right, with BTC. When Trump got involved back in January, I said expect us to come down. It might go up, but I'm almost positive we're going to come down because everything's going to fall apart. We saw the correlation between BTC and with the NASDAQ. We started talking about that. It wasn't 100% correlated, but it was getting close. You could see the money flow really starting to kind of go into BTC as it was happening. So it's really important to understand what's actually happening forward here now. So we're seeing the monthly chart come down. We've talked about the ES here coming over, which is the S&P 500 futures sell-off. And so what's important to understand here is as we are going down here, right, this is actually coming back down to levels where I hate to use the word people who are disadvantaged in the market, but because there was such a huge push up with inflation, most people did not really capture the lows of the 3591 area all the way up to the 6,000 or 6,100 area. This, they called it the slow melt as this was happening, and the reason that people didn't because inflation hit so hard. But as we start to see things happening, as we start to see the unfolding of the world economy, things start to fall apart, I personally think we're going to see deflation actually happen. And then that process, we've talked about this yesterday, but long story short, and I think this was the point of what Bassett was saying of like, hey, banks, Federal Reserve, I don't care. Like basically in a very professional manner, he was just like, kind of go F yourself.
Right.
We're going to take care of the people. And he was very diplomatic, but very clear to them saying, This is what we're doing. And then what was so crazy is to see Congress step in saying, you're not going to be able to do this because basically what you're doing is enacting a tax without doing it. And Trump was like, no and yes. You all got rich off of the inflation here because you had assets that actually stayed above inflation. But the bad part behind it is that the American people got crushed. And because of that, literally there was disparage between the rich and the poor, which people talked about, that wealth gap that was just exorbitantly just jumped forward, right? Billionaires became I wouldn't say trillionaires, but 100 billionaires.
It did
right?
well.
And there were a lot of, they did very well. And remember, they received dividends, which they receive cash for that. And they take loans on that, so they don't have to pay back that cash. And a lot of people know this strategy that the rich uses, whether it's through insurance or whether it's done through an actual loan or whether it's taking a loan, a quasi loan against their stock. But they're able to get real cash without having to pay taxes. And because of this circumstance, they were able to buy goods and services as well as assets, which pushed up the market value to many housing, hard assets like gold, silver, and the people who were disadvantaged were just the hardworking Americans that they wanted to take advantage of this, but they couldn't necessarily because their income went to crude oil, meaning that it put gas in their car. It went to DuPont, right, and many of these other major food. Who's the cigarette company that bought all the all the
Philip
food?
Morris?
Yeah, went to Philip Morris, right? Because they actually had to go and buy the food now, right? Which was
pulled
again
that one out of the deep recesses of the brain.
Bro, that was dope. I was gonna say that was actually got going, bro. That's what I'm saying. Play that. All right, okay, let's play it. All right, so this idea behind that we're seeing is one of those moments that, wow, everything's really starting to get going. So with that said, this little fight, and people don't realize, it's called tariffs, and then the Congress people trying to fight this was a huge indication of like, no, we're not going to allow you to do this with the tariff, which is causing a lot of stuff. And Trump's talked about this, or his cabinet's talked about this almost at large now, referring to what is actually happening and what they want to do. Right. And again, I hate to say, but the legacy media has refused really to talk about the real talking points that are important and really just hit on really China's falling apart. All these places are hurting, poor, woe is them. And not really revert back to, hey, Americans have been hurting and been left in the wealth gap. Okay, so there's this side that they refuse to talk about. So watching these long form, and which I've loved, these long form podcasts, like been amazing.
Well, Pedro, yes. I've had to have this discussion a number of times over the past few days with people.
Okay.
Either close to me or far away, meaning like on social media. They're like, why change everything? Why do this? Why just, if you want to fix the trade deficits, just make some phone calls and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not how this works at all. I said, I have to explain it in detail to kind of educated people. I said, a trade deficit, we essentially are taking U.S. dollars that are here in the U.S. and sending them overseas, which has benefits for making the dollar the hegemon around the world. However, most of those dollars don't come back to the U.S. They circulate outside the U.S. A small percentage doesn't come back simply because of that trade deficit. It may come back in other types of investments and things like that, but it's a small percentage of our trade deficit. And in order for the U.S. to still have money after sending billions of dollars, I think this year's trade deficit's $1 trillion, or 2024 is $1 trillion. In order to have money, we have to print money, or the banks have to fractionalize and create more money. And so we have to expand the economy at a rate that includes just what we consume, but for the money that goes overseas and doesn't come back. So we essentially have to print money and cause inflation for money that goes overseas and doesn't come back. And people don't understand it. I know it's complicated, and I don't fully understand it. But when the money leaves the country and it doesn't come back, then we're short money here. We're short money. We print more money. We devalue the currency overall by printing money, or creating it, or doing whatever, and we're not as good off. And so we have to solve this trade deficit thing at some point or another. And why not try tariffs? Why not try something? I mean, is it going to cause us to all go bankrupt? And everyone's like, it's going to be the Great Depression, and we're going to be living in the streets again. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. At the first sign of it not working, Congress is going to revolt and say, all right, Mr. Trump, and Trump's going to need to save face, and they'll lighten the load, or behind the scenes do lots of deals and whatever it is. It's going to work out. It'll work out just fine, because if it doesn't work, they'll behind the scenes ease the issues and get things to work again. However, what if it does work as planned? Fine, take a risk. Oh, you're wrecking the markets, our 401k, we're not going to be able to retire. Look at the stock market. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's going to recover. It'll come back. Nobody's going to abandon the stock market. Well, there's tariffs on fake doggy poo-poo that gets shipped in from Hong Kong, so I can't have a 401k. No, that's not right. And so we have to fix it. Why not try tariffs? Why not? Let me rephrase that. Why not try something different? Instead of tweaking the plan that doesn't work, we'll just tweak it here a little bit, or 1% here. And that. It hasn't worked. We send $200 billion a quarter to China. And they build those beautiful buildings and build their fucking army with our money. And so we have to try something different. So what if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, we're still behind the curve. But if it does work, holy batshit crap frogs, Robin. It'll fundamentally change the U.S. for the better. We'll actually have a decent manufacturing industry again. We'll be self-sustainable for the things we need to fight wars, if we eventually have to fight one with China, or be at least ready to fight one with China.
That's the key, is be ready.
Right. And right now we can't. They can't.
Yes.
In defense contracts, there's little things that say everything has to be an American product. And then there's like little fine clause in it, unless you can't find it in America. And like 70% of the parts, the electronics parts, you can't find in America. Thankfully, most of them semiconductors you can get from Taiwan. But a lot of them you got to get from China. And China just says, okay, don't sell those to the U.S. anymore. Well, all of a sudden we don't have a 3-cent transistor, or whatever it needs. But in order for us to start making those at that price, we have to invest $5 billion in a plant to do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's try it. This whole country is one great experiment, and it's been going well for 250 years, in almost every aspect. It's a great experiment. Try it. And if other countries are like, we don't want to trade with you, and things start, this is going to be a problem, then you fix it again, and eventually you come up with something that works.
But here's the thing I want to add is it is starting to work. Like, I think we went, almost a week now, right? And they're calling, right? Like, and I'm going to pull this up because Tom Bilyeu talks about this, and I have some different views on it, but he makes a good point, and I think he's correct in this idea that from a first principle standpoint, like, America was built on that idea of, look, we're going to put innovation and really make sure that business stands first over monarchy and religion, right views. And so this idea that America has been really hit hard with almost other people's cultures, putting them first, versus, again, keeping America in a first stance. And in that, we do act as a cop. We do act as a way, if you step out of line and really hurt people from a freedom standpoint, it really hurts them in the long run, because it gives countries that don't really have a strong base for human liberties to really get stronger in that sense. And I don't want our system to crash here, so I'm not going to mention any names, but we've talked about them in the past already. The Great Bear of the East, that's what we could say, right? And a few other of those nations out there that have sided with them really have really kind of done a lot of things that just is not okay. And so because we've taken the stances that we've done, it's put them in a way where their economies got strong.
Yeah,
and they were
absolutely.
and they became experts in these things. And now, because we have been outside the game for such a long time, historically there have been tariffs. Thanks, Sky. So historically there have been tariffs and they have not worked. Right now, everything is down. I feel like it will continue to fall. The impossible question is, where is the bottom for ETH? We are going to go on that. Absolutely, Sky. We are going to go on that, and I will definitely talk about that.
That's good. Sky, where did you come in on this conversation here?
Wait,
How long have you been listening here? Because I could talk about tariffs at length on a semi-educational view. I don't mean not an educational, from a bigger picture. Well, so let us know where you popped in here. But the ETH question, how low can it go? I think we're talking $800 for ETH. 750. Pedro, I don't know if you know Pedro, Sky, but Pedro up here, he calls all of these bottoms or reversal areas. Let me tell you, he just calls them, and so I shouldn't say calls them. I should say points them out. Using the word call in this business is wrong.
Yeah, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not sitting there trying to tell you what to do or how to do it. My goal is really just say, hey, look, these are technical turnaround points where institutions say, from a fundamental level, this is a cheap area. And so what happens is price will shoot as much as possible, or institutions will take a market up as far as possible, right? As far as possible. And then what they'll do is, once they've basically sucked out everything that they could from a liquidity standpoint, then they drop it to these areas that are really low where they basically have buyers since. So it's really interesting. Joined discussion a few minutes ago. Awesome. Thanks for having us. Really
Sky,
appreciate
I'll give you the 1 minute thing that the media is not telling you about why tariffs can work. Not that they will work, because nobody knows that. They can work. In the past, high tariffs. We always have tariffs. We have between 2.5% and 10% tariffs on almost all imports, except by treaty, like NAFTA and so forth.
Absolutely.
In the past,
and we've had it.
People keep bringing up that Fast Times at Ridgemont or Ferris Bueller's Day Off thing, where they're talking about the Smoot-Hawley Act didn't work. The tariffs.
Again, that is still segmented in a way, and I want to, and John, I want you to keep talking about this, but that was segmented and only telling a snippet of the true reality what was actually happening.
The economy was a disaster back then. But two major things were different in 1929 than they are today. The U.S. was not a consumerism economy that was the leading economy of the world. Argentina had an economy the same size as the U.S. back then. Argentina was arguably a bigger manufacturing and consumerism powerhouse. This is before they tried that socialism experiment. Whoops.
Bad 100 years.
Yeah. Oops.
My bad.
And also the U.S. dollar was not the hegemon of the world. Back then in the 20s, the pound sterling was the #1 currency in the world.
The Great Lion.
And England had, or the United Kingdom had the bulk of the finance going on. So the U.S. didn't have finance, and we didn't have manufacturing, and people didn't want to sell in the U.S. They sold to only when they had to. And the U.S. bought mostly agricultural equipment back then, which we mostly made locally. We didn't have to import it. And so now the U.S. economy is the hegemon of the world. Every business.
Now,
go ahead.
Add to the idea that the hegemon was developed in a way where they siphon, and I hate to use the word, but they siphon this idea of the wealth out, and like a leech sucking the life force and going into other nations, hence making them stronger, living off of the life force. And because we become more of a service system versus a manufacturing system, and this is the major part of why this is going to work, that I think is literally because our economy is not even built on manufacturing.
Well, it is. It's about half our GDP.
Well, but it's not in a sense. You know what I mean? Go ahead. Okay, keep elaborating, and then I'll return, because me and him have different views on this, and I think it's really important to elucidate on the views.
So the idea that
the manufacturing I disagree with. Go ahead.
The idea that tariffs didn't work in the past, so they won't work now. It's a completely different economic situation. Every company in the world, except your street vendors, has a U.S. plan to sell in the U.S. Or for that matter, Canada. In North America. Everyone wants to sell their products here because it's the largest GDP pool of money in the world, and buyers, and Americans buy everything. We just buy too much shit. In fact, I just spent the past weekend throwing out stuff in my apartment that I had bought. Half of it was made in China. And so it's a much different economic playing field now. And the media doesn't talk about it. They just don't talk about that. Even on CNBC, I watch those guys, and they're like, well, it didn't work in 29 and stuff. And I'm like, come on, guys, tell them why. And why is it
that's the key. They don't tell the real reason.
Right. Why is it different now? So anyway, we can go on like this forever. Let's
go into why. Oh.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We can. I don't mind talking about this forever. Every time I talk about it, I get the argument better in my head.
Well, here's the thing also, and I bring this up, is I do want to go into Technical Tuesday where we're going to see prices go. So here, finish up, we'll talk, and then we'll interlude into this again and talk about, and then we'll jump right back in, because I mean, a lot of times too much tech, right? People get annoyed, and too much talk, people get annoyed. So finish it up, and then we'll
anyways, guys, to finish it up, you probably missed the point where I said, why not try tariffs? Nothing else is working. With the trade deficits we have, we send our money overseas and we don't get it back. Which causes us to have to basically print more money and deflate our currency. So trade deficits are not a good thing in the long term. Short term, they balance out, fine, whatever. But in the long term, systemically, we're sending $1 trillion a year overseas and not getting, or maybe, I don't know what we get back, maybe 80% of it. It stays overseas and we get 20% back. Welcome Chuck Jansen to the show.
What up, Doc?
Fire chicken himself. But anyway, so we need to try something different. And years of tweaking it and this and that, well, I mean, Reagan was talking about the trade deficits. I mean, the trade deficit problems, in 72, Nixon opened up China. He went to China and said, look, why don't you trade?
And let's not forget, Chuck Schumer in 2005 was talking about, and it's even 10 times worse now than it was in 2005. We'll just leave that alone. Go ahead.
And not only that, Nancy Pelosi, the video is circulating her on the internet right now in like 2005 with Schumer talking about the tariffs between China and other countries in the U.S. and how it's not fair. Tariffs work wonders for China. You know who else they work wonders for? Japan. Unbelievable.
And Canada too as well.
Yeah, it works in Canada. It protects their whole dairy industry and their other things. It works great in the Philippines. Works great in all these other countries, but people say, oh, it can't work in the U.S. It's just a failure, world trade war, all this kind of stuff. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, and don't be one of those people that's stupid and goes and protests things that they don't know. Oh, Elon's
bro, you can get paid, dude. So
you can get paid.
I looked in my local area to see if I could get paid for protesting. Right? I want to show you guys how, we'll talk about this later, but I want to show you there's like 15 different things that you can go and protest about and get paid on Craigslist, on what's the other one I thought was really, and I was looking for it, Backstage? It's like where people go to pick up, I didn't even realize this until I looked up that it's like where people go to look to get extracurricular activities. And I was like, why are they? And then I was like, oh, that's what this is. So it's really, and it's actually open for everybody to go see. So that's why I think sometimes there might be some nefarious things going on, but I mean, from like our actual government trying to catch people, which is really good, I think. But anyways, keep going what you were saying. And then
I'm done. Let's get into Technical Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'm going to rerun. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Technical Tuesday. We go over the economic indicators to let you know how it affects your crypto portfolio, and I always like to play this.
So let's go ahead and look this stuff up. So long story short, I went over earlier talking
Hold on,
about
I'm playing
the top 10 companies literally basically directing the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ directs who, right? Bitcoin. Who controls NASDAQ in the scale of things? That's going to be the S&P 500, okay? And so when you look at this, and who are the top stocks in the S&P 500, as well as, this is important, the NASDAQ, which is the top tech stocks. So that's why we go over the top tech stocks here and the directions that we're looking. And you can go back and look at all of our Technical Tuesday. I've been talking about how this is overinflated. I've talked about how NVIDIA is something's going to come out that is going to be better than them, and or at least equal to them, and it's going to kick them off their throne. And that's what we've seen with R1. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Sky, literally, I know the market is doing its thing because of Trump, but we've been talking about this exact situation happening, regardless of tariffs, for at least a year.
Yes, go back and look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've helped people move like, all right, here's going to be the turnaround. Well, I can't say that. I look at the market, the charts tell me through the wicks. That's the best way of looking at it. And I'll explain these wicks for you guys here in a second. But long story short, when price goes up and then it comes down, when it's going up, buyers are coming in. When sellers come in, it goes down and creates a wick. Vice versa for the same thing on a candle. So that's real money really coming into the market, communicating to you with their money, not with their word service, but with their money. Multiple times I've said, guys, expect a turnaround because they're saying something with their mouth, but they're doing another with their money in the charts. And charts don't lie. When I see wicks come in, many times I've said, guys, expect a sell-off here because we're seeing a slowdown or a pickup, whatever it be. Expect a turnaround. And again, this is stuff that I just look at, what I do, and this is not financial advice, but this is stuff that I do. So now that we understand that whole entire structure from the S&P 500, because it dominates the rest of the market here, we see a correlation with this, okay? So as it comes down, price point that I'm looking for the S&P 500 is the first place is going to be 46.62 to the 46.27 area, which is this gap here. The next price that we'll see, and we'll see a bounce off of this. We'll see a bounce and come up. And then the next price that I think we're going to come down to for the S&P is 3,500 or 35.93 area. Okay, we've talked about a flash crash here now for about 6 months, being ready for it. When we see it, we talked about during Trump's inauguration, what I expect to see happen here. So you can go back and look at that as well, because I went over in detail how to trade, what's going to happen with gold, with crude oil, as well as with the dollar. We talked about the dollar. Now let's go into the dollar here. But in relationship to that, I'm going to talk about the 10-year yield. Okay, the 10-year yield had a huge explosion here. Dude, it literally came down almost to our area of the 3% or the 3%, the percentage of 350 area here. And this is more of a mid to forward leaning yield here that's actually happening. And so it came to our area. I believe this pullback is in relationship to the demand that sits right here that we've talked about, this area here, it coming down here since here. This break of support come back into a pullback. So it breaks here, pulls back, and then we see the sell-off into these lower levels. Now we're seeing a bounce up here, and to me, this is not a bullish sentiment. This is actually the opposite of that. And so this rally up should do this type of situation. We'll probably come back up, test this, and then come back down into this lower level here. And then we'll see what happens from there. But this is what I'm expecting, okay? In additionally to that, when you look at the monthly chart here, this monthly chart started off slow. Remember, we're in the first week here. So we sold off, created the demand wick, coming back to test these lower, or the 8 and the 20 period moving average, which we're seeing on the monthly chart up there, okay? So with that, we'll most likely see it turn around back around here as we come down to these lower levels. Again, we need to, when it sells off like that, you typically will have a comeback where it will retest where the previous areas were, and then you'll see it turn back around. So it's important to understand here, guys, what we're seeing with the yields in relationship to the bonds, because there's a relationship here, okay? The relationship to the bond is we came up. You can see here with the bonds, and let me point this out here. We'll go into this. I don't want to do the ultra. Boom. Okay. You can see here that we actually are in, boom. We're actually in this area here that we're coming up. we've been pushing up for the last 4 months in the bonds, or 3 months in the bonds. 1, 2, 3. The beginning of this month, we pushed up, but I'm expecting to see it come back down, test these lows here, and then see it go back up here for the 10-year bond. The 10-year bond is kind of like the real point where you see car notes, which is more the 5-year, but you can have a 5 to 10-year. You see also housing wrapped up in it. You also see other major debt that's placed into the bonds that are wrapped up in banks. And so this is a forward thing. It correlates with what we see with the Fed interest rate, where they move theirs by basis points. And we go over
Pedro, what instrument do you have up there?
This is the 10-year bond, or note, 10-year note.
Pricing or yield?
Pricing, not the yield. We just went over the yield.
Right. Okay. I sometimes get a little behind here.
It's okay. It's all right. Boom. So you can see here what's actually happening. Now, let's go into the dollar and the relationship with that. When there is a lack of dollars, when it comes to the M1, M2, M3 market, whenever you see the world not wanting to trade in USD, you see a drop in the dollar. And especially when it comes to the idea of tariffs, typically you will see dollar go down, okay, which typically correlates when we're not in a bizarro, a bizarro economy, where it actually should work with real demand and governments not stepping in and printing money, but they actually let a free market go to a certain extent, allowing liquidity when we start to see crazy. But it's important to have the sell-offs, because that's what makes crypto so strong. It's because you have deflationary situations that happen where people can get back in, and it basically allows there to be able to be if things expand in crypto, it also will contract. And then you see people gather assets in crypto and then push it back up even further. So it's important to understand the relationship, that why crypto is so strong. Okay, this is why earlier the last few months, I didn't like how there was a TradFiation of DeFi, right? Where they're literally trying to do all these other games that they've been playing in traditional finance that they're trying to bring into crypto. But because of the deflationary aspect behind crypto, I don't think that they will be able to change the genome of crypto, because it is innately built into it. And so we'll see what happens in relationship to it. But I'm almost positive.
It's also because we're bros, Crypto bros. It doesn't work in TradFi, bitches. Crypto bros. Degens at heart.
The degens out hard. All right.
Well, Sky, so Chuck, anyone that's watching, wrought iron conditioning, or whatever it is.
Right.
You're selling viewers.
Definitely.
If you got any questions, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely going over this stuff here. Please. And you're watching the comments, right? Just make sure we're watching.
There are no new ones.
All right. Okay, so you can see here, now we're having the retracement of the dollar. We just talked about how the relationship of the US dollar, interest rates and bond kind of work in hand. What's the more inverse, and the other one is correlated with it, right? And so we're doing a pullback. I said, don't trust this push up with the US dollar. Remember, we've been short the US dollar since here. Remember, I said, now that Trump is involved, he needs a lower dollar for, and I'm making this very simple, very simplistic, but it holds. If you look into it, you'll see what I'm saying. A lower dollar makes doing business with America more advantageous. And that's what he's trying to do, is build up the manufacturing system so people will actually buy our goods, because it's cheaper to do business with America than anybody else in the world. So I said, he's going to want a lower dollar. And so because of that, I said, all right, guys, we saw this sell-off come in and that big old wick, right? I always talk about the wick is more important, communicates more what they're actually doing than versus what they're saying. It shoots through the spin and allows you to see what's actually happening. And that's why we look at the wicks.
The no spin zone, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, dude, don't. That's freaking. Whether you like Fox or not, I mean, I get the feed from Fox, but I also get it from a bunch of other people. What's up, Doctor? I love Doctor, bro. What up, Doc? Dr. Chuck Jansen. We have a doctor in the house, legit doctor. All right, so you can see here it shot up. We saw it go down, and now we're coming into the area from that 109 area that we talked about down to our 100 to 99 area. Now, I think we're going to see this kind of fall low to these areas and consolidate, right? And then most likely go back up, but it will do this type of range between 102. Now we're going to talk about the range part that we should see and expect. Okay, I'm going to show this here and expect it to stay roughly around this area here, which is going to be a 101 to 99 area here for the range bound once we come back to this level, and even lower potentially if things start to fall back even more. Okay, and we start to see a manipulation, right? We could, oh, come on, why are you, don't be cool, honey bunny, be cool. All right, here we go. This is also a potential area that we could see the US dollar come down to and kind of play here as well. So these two areas is what I'm looking at really as we come back down into our lower levels here. I think we're coming down further here, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Scoochie one, I'll get to your question in just a minute. Pedro's on a roll here.
Where's he? No, it's.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. But I wanted, Pedro, I do want you to expand, and we briefly talked about this yesterday. You mentioned half of the equation here that the administration wants the dollar to be weaker to make doing business with the U.S. more advantageous. What do they want with the bonds? We didn't hit when we were talking about the bonds. They want to have lower prices or lower yields.
You want lower yields, higher prices, because that means that America is stable, right? People are willing to buy American bonds when yields are average, let's say 2 to 3%, which we've been talking about. We've been hitting that. We've been waiting for that 3%, 3.5% area now for almost 6 months, right? For the sell-off to come down there. But we want to keep it between 2%, which will then, when manufacturing comes back into America and America becomes more financially stable. And by the way, thank you, Scoochie One, for making that comment. If you could do us a favor, hit the like button. That always helps us out immensely. But in the same sense, when we see that, okay, then America gets stable again, real manufacturing happens, people know America's making money again, real money. So then what do people do? One, I think we'll see a lot of crypto investors, which we talked about this almost a year and a half ago. Crypto investors, as well as many stable coins, start to invest into and buying up a ton, this is key, a ton of treasuries. Then what will happen, it will stabilize America. We'll have bonds to build infrastructure and also, again, making municipalities and many other U.S. government entities strong in meaning from a financial standpoint. Because the only one that's really buying U.S. treasuries, right? China gave up. They said, you know what, forget you. One being a contraction, huh? Because of a Go ahead. Because of a contraction in their economy, they were buying up, but then they basically said the inflationary aspect of their economy that's actually currently happening because they're going through their 2008 situation. We're watching it kind of saying we need money. And additionally to that, we know that trade isn't necessarily going to start happening. So when you have a decrease in trade, then money comes back home into America, right? Which means then that you're going to see a slowdown in the world's economy. And much like World War II, America will get up going and start producing much more. You'll have an actual real trade there. So this is what the government, at least Trump's administration, is trying to establish again, right? And again, and I don't think this is even talked enough about. I was leading on this last week, but the fact that the majority of our, and I hate to say this, but our congressmen as well as senators on both ends buy stock. And they shouldn't be. I honestly think they shouldn't be allowed to buy stock.
Let's not switch topics on us here.
Well, this has everything to do with it, because they've invested into many other stock overseas, and they've invested into many other companies that are small that exploded, and hence because they can actually establish laws and rules based off of those companies, they can see the explosion. And I talked about the guy who tracks their stocks. And so when you start to see that decrease, those companies decrease, right? Then you see in America, we should see an increase because there's need for it. And then in that, then you see an increase of our bonds because people want security there. And then you'll see an increase in other world's interest rate as our interest rates go down. So it's going to be, it's kind of like this. It should be like this. So if this was one, first they all go down, then one will go up. Ours will go up a little bit and then come down, and theirs will stay up because of what's actually happening with the creation or wanting of our bonds.
Here, Scoochie, a little summary of an exact question. What's the ultimate goal? And I don't know where you came in on the stream, but I mentioned it earlier. We have to solve our trade deficit problem. We're in 2024. We sent $1 trillion overseas, and didn't get anything back out of it. Well, I don't know what we get back. 20% of it comes back. And when we send $1 trillion overseas and it doesn't come back to us, we have to print more money and deflate our currency. And we've been doing that years and years and years. And we've been doing it heavily since we opened up trade with Asia in the 70s. And so we need to solve that. And the only way to solve it is by make more stuff in the US. And so we need to focus on we can't import as much. There's so many great arguments for importing from China where the labor's cheap and they can screw up their earth over there and it doesn't bother us. I mean, trust me, there's economic policies that rely on manufacturing hubs like China feeding the world. The problem is we send them all our money. And China doesn't invest. If they invested in the US and bought the same amount of stuff from us, then it would work, and it's a two-way street. But because we send $1 trillion a year overseas and don't get much of it back, that's $1 trillion at least that we have to turn the money printer on and deflate our currency. And that's a problem. And we need to fix it. And 50 years of tweaking the system. Oh, we'll tweak it a little bit. Ooh, and then the lobbyists come in and it doesn't tweak at all. It just hasn't worked. And so my point of the show was, why not try the tariffs? What's it going to hurt? It can't hurt it really worse. I mean, we're already sending our money out. We've printed up $37 trillion worth of debt. We've taken on $100 trillion in unfunded obligations. So what if the tariffs don't work and we add $2 or $3 trillion to that over the next 2 or 3 years? Whoopee.
All right, so let's go ahead and go here.
Hold on, 76 Norton has a question for you. He says, I don't think so on the bonds. And I think I might have missed something what you're saying about the bonds too. So maybe Pedro, or maybe 76 Norton, ask your question again so we both understand which part.
I just think he's disagreeing with my hypothesis.
Pedro he has a lot of those hand motions. There's a lot of info in those topics.
Yeah, and so it's not like if we can go into the nitty gritty if you want to. I have no problem. I'm just trying to keep this very basic so that I don't lose the audience. Like, listen, we're talking about world economics.
It's complicated. It's complicated. So PhDs, Nobel Prizes on it.
But the key is I really don't care if you got even PhD. Can you read what they're doing with their money? That's it. Can you see them putting their money in and money out? Dude, Citibank literally had a plethora of PhDs running their company, right? And in 2008, we saw, I think, go from $50, $60 all the way to $4, $3. And I think it dipped below and then shot back above $5. They did I think it was a 10 or 15 to 1 ratio to get it back up from a price standpoint. So I don't really care. Look at the market, see where they're putting their money in. And if it's actually correct, then it's going to happen. If I'm seeing fatty wicks on the bottom of something like you see right here, right, with Brent crude, that means that gas is going to go up. If I'm seeing seller wicks come in, like we saw coming in, then I'm going to sit there and say they're going to go down because I don't care what they say. It's like the Republican Party. They don't say much, but they show up to the polls, right? Like, show me what you're going to do with your vote. People vote with their money. Banks vote with their money, and you can see when I see seller wicks.
That's exactly right.
They vote with their money. I don't care. Listen, I've gone on to many, and this is and the reason why I'm coming here, and I'm glad I actually went on to a very big name where they have 400 or 500 people on their who listen to them. They're very smart economically. They've got PhDs, and the truth is these guys were talking about crude oil, and we're going to go over crude oil in just a second. This was, I don't know when it was, but it was back here in August of maybe 22, 23. And I basically said, look, the market's going down here. Like, it's just in July, it's going to go down because of XYZ. So I started talking about, the crude oil report. And I said, crude oil reports, and I would post literally price points and screenshots saying, this is what's going to happen. Look. And these guys are like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but it kept happening. And so finally, the main speaker, I requested to speak. And I said, this is what's going to happen. And I said, listen, you don't understand traders. And I brought up my normal thing that I talk about all the time, right? Mr. What's his name? Jim Cramer. They say one thing and do another because they need liquidity. And the truth is we're lacking liquidity. We're lacking buyers and sellers in certain areas. So they're going to bring it down here. It's that simple. And they laughed at me and kicked me off the stage. And lo and behold, that was here, right? And so we saw what happened. And then we saw the increase here. But I want to bring this up because right now we've been talking about this trade here, right? Since right here, I said expect crude oil. And we've been talking about this lower, I don't know how long we've had this lower area here. I mean, maybe since 2000, September of 2023. I wish we had all of our stuff in that AI so we could actually just say, hey, when did Pedro put that bottom line there price here? But now we're coming down here to crude oil. I was definitely bearish during January. I said, expect this to come down. We'll see some consolidation around this area, but I expect this to come down to that 55, 45 area here with crude oil. And we'll see it consolidate here. One, because he wants to drill, but also the stuff that is actually happening from a global standpoint. And so from a price point, expect this to come down. I'm expecting my shorts are coming into that 55 to 45 area here as we come down. We should see it. Again, it's gonna be topsy-turvy, but if we do come back and retest that 8-period moving average, I want you to look at the monthly and weekly 8. Okay, and then if we start to break through the 8 on the daily, we'll hold back and we'll.
Oh, you dropped into mute there, Pedro. Looks like Pedro is having a connection issue with one of his devices. I think your desktop is having a connection issue. I don't even know if you can hear me, Pedro. Your phone is connected, but it's back, and I hear your voice. Pedro's having a little issue here. I'm gonna wait. I can watch the broadcast feed here and let you know when it comes back. Anyway, we're talking about the market indicators and what's going on. Yes, Pedro, I can hear you. So,
hey, can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you twice now.
Okay, you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. You switched your microphone to your phone? I don't know if the people can hear you.
All right, let me finish this up, and then I will go. Okay, so you should be able to hear me on my phone. Shake your head yes if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. All right, can you see my screen? All right, I just can't hear you for whatever reason. Okay, so I expect the market to come down into this 55 to 45 area here when it comes to crude oil. So we should pretty much kind of see it kind of come down into this level, bounce back up into that 8-period moving average, which is the purple line sitting right here. As it comes down, we'll see it kind of pull back there and then consolidate and wait for all the SMAs to come into that area. And then we'll see it start to make higher highs and higher
Jesus
lows.
to the show.
But right now, we're coming down into that area, which is going to shock the world system because there's a slowdown in the economy and people will most likely stop buying because I've talked about immensely so many times, right? Everything we own, everything we have is created by oil. And so when you slow down on your buying, because we're seeing a slowdown in the economy, we see a slowdown or a drop in crude oil. And there's a few other factors outside of that, but this is what I'm expecting to see. This is why we're seeing the drop off here. Okay. Now let's check out, we talked about crude oil here, or not crude oil. We talked about gold. So I expected us to get up to that 3,300 for crude oil. Excuse me, why do I keep saying crude oil? With gold, I still expect us to get there. You can see over the past few days, we didn't put a bunch of supply wicks in, right? And so we're coming back down into, I mean, if you think about it, we went from literally, what was the beginning of the year? I think it was right here. Yeah. So you should be able to hear me now. Okay, let's try this. What about now?
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha, just like normal.
Why is this now just working this? I don't understand.
I don't know, but the broadcast software just showed your connection for your desktop turned green again.
It's like driving me nuts.
Baby
Baby Drago, what's up?
That's Jesus.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now I hear you 2 times.
I don't understand why. You know what? Let me try this.
Just turn your phone off. I can mute your phone.
Come on.
All's good now. I can hear you just fine. You hear me? Check, 1 2. Check, 1 2 1 2. Check.
And
we're doing dance floor moves. See if Pedro can hear me. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, while Pedro fixing up his
so much going on in the market
audio here.
I see why. I've got to close down some of my stuff here. So let me go ahead and close down.
Technical Tuesday, and we're talking about the markets. We're talking a lot about tariffs. A lot of you guys have questions about tariffs. The general answer that I've been giving people has been, why not try them? Nothing else works. Nothing else works, and our trade deficits are $1 trillion
this
sucks.
A year. So
you know what I'm going to do? Pedro, can you hear me? Pedro, I'm going to boot you.
Pedro, looking for you in the sky. That's funny. All right, Baby Draco, Infineon. Okay, it looks like the director has muted you.
Pedro, you should be able to hear us. You got us, Pedro? I can hear. Let's go to Telegram. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, while we solve these technical problems here with Pedro's computer. I can hear you from your computer. Fine. Nope, I just typed that into the Fire Chicken.
Okay, there we are.
Check 1 2 1 2.
I got you, bud. There we are. Yep. I don't know what happened.
All I know is the last thing, right before this happened, I heard from your end like a and then a pop, like an electrical pop, like you plug in and unplug something. And
oh, really? Yeah, we're good. I don't even know what happened.
And that was that. But you just started talking about gold. So what's going on with gold?
Okay, so let's check out gold here. Gold, we saw a sell-off here into our area, but we're not really seeing any demand wicks here. So I expect to see a pullback into the lower level here around that 28.52 as a respite. And then we could most likely see it come back up to that. We came close. So we were at prices of that 48 area here. Back actually when we were talking about it was actually at this level here, December, January. And I said we can expect gold to go up because we're going to see a bunch of troublesome times coming. So this is why I said expect gold to get to about that 3,300 area. We came close to the 2,100. We're going to pull back a little. Most likely, like I said, there are a few. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep, we sure can. Yes.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
But my PC is now not working.
Usually, ladies and gentlemen, usually it's my fault with the technical problems. Today, El Pedro, you know what's problem? It started when Jesus came on from San Francisco. That's when the problem.
Blame it on the Peruvian. It's not the Mexicans' fault. It's the Peruvians' fault. Que bueno. All right. So, my Latin brother, what's up? Put it back to Pax Gold. Yeah, we'll check out Pax Gold in a second.
Jesus, screenshot this and share this with the Infineon people when I put your.
Yeah, I actually went
when
on
I put
this
your
thing.
comments up here.
So I went on Stereo today, and this girl was saying, "Oh, I'm part of Infineon, or Phoenix
Operation
stuff." And I was like,
Phoenix?
"Oh, I know your devs. Like they come on our show." And then she started, "Oh, I got all this," and I said, "It's really not smart for you to do this." And she got upset because she thought I was like mansplaining her, but she was so open to talk about how much money she has and all this gold she has. And I go, "Well, obviously you're not in crypto because you talk about that so openly. People might come knock on your door." And she goes, "I'm mafioso," and blah, blah, blah. And I just started talking over because I was like, "That's dumb that you would do that. Like, don't talk about how much money you have in crypto. People come and knock on your door.
I'm gonna knock on your door."
Yeah, but not the ones you want to hear. All right, so let's talk about where we're most likely going to come down to. So I expect to see is come down to two spots. One being kind of like where we're at with that 50-period moving average, where we can see a consolidation, boom, 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 clean up and go back up, hit that 3,300 area here that we're looking at, and then basically kind of descend where we're at, or it comes back down into a deeper area here on that 100 again, and then shoot back up even further and potentially a 3,600 area here. But we're going to see what happens here. But it's going to be real interesting. So we've been long since January here, and this trade has done kick ass. So congrats to everybody who's been a part of that. Now let's check out. We saw we saw the yuan drop crazy. So will they let me do it? I spell yuan, I always forget it.
Y-U-A-N.
Yeah, Y-U-A-N. Yeah. Well, allow it. Did they take it off?
The major. I
think.
think. Wait, their currency.
Yep, there we go. Okay. Yeah,
it's currency traded directly, or is it traded as like an ETF or something?
Yes, it's traded like as an ETF. So I'm going to use here the Chinese dollar to the or the Chinese yuan to the US dollar ratio here.
Thank you, Jesus.
So you can
appreciate it.
So you can see here that we've seen major sell-offs recently. And again, we know that they're going through a traumatic issue, but also this drop here is really one of those things that I expect to see even continue because they manipulate their currency a lot. And so with that, America is just simply going to do a favorable, and they've talked about this. If you drop your, and I think this is really important to understand, the currency wars. Again, shout out to Tom Bailu for really using that term. I don't know where he got it from. If you could let me know, that'd be great. But the idea is this, is as we're seeing that drop, the currency wars happening right now, you can see, and it's very plain. What do we see here? They do not care about what Trump is saying, and they are dropping their currency with that big old supply wig, and they're going to see if they're going to push it as far as down. So as big as the tariff or as big as you see the currency war drop, you will see an increase in tariffs. This is what Trump has already talked about. So I won't be shocked if we see the yuan keep dropping, right, to, and this would be crazy, but I mean, the 1350 area right here, this would indicate, I mean, he'll just keep raising the tariffs. And so we could literally see some major money coming in from it. We'll find out. Part of me almost is wishing they keep dropping it. And then we keep, I mean, in essence, it's kind of like a net positive for us in a sense, but it's still kind of, it's just these war games are going on, or excuse me, these currency war games are going on, which is it's kind of brilliant when you see what's actually happening from China's standpoint. But in the same sense, like it's going to look like Trump is truly bullying here, and the geopolitical positioning here is really going to hurt who? Canada, right? Because what are they paid in? From their friends over the Great Bear over in the East here.
Dollars.
That's funny. But in the same sense, so you see what I'm saying? And as well as we're going to see a few other Middle Eastern nations here kind of start to have issues here because they're getting paid this money, but it's not equal. And so if you're having huge fluctuations like we're seeing right now, it's like, well, how far are you going to deflate this? Like if you keep deflating this, then it really makes it not profitable for us to do business with you. And then who are they going to look to then? America, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see as this plays out what's actually happening here. And Bassett is playing brilliant chess here.
Besant.
Absolute, huh?
Besant.
How do you say Besant? I thought it was Bassett.
Bessent. Besant.
Bassett.
No, Beth, like Beth.
Oh, Bethson.
No, just like B-E, not B-A. Besant.
Besant. Oh, I'm an idiot.
B-E-S-S. Bess. Like Betsy Ross. Bess.
Yeah, Bess. There we go, Bess. Bassett is playing a brilliant game here. He's kind of chess playing. Like you have Lucknick, you have Bassett, and you have a few other geniuses, macro stance. What's actually being played here. And I don't think China can weather what is actually happening with them. They're going to have to say uncle. And the other part I want to say is they were trying to parlay with Japan last week, and but you're watching Japan going, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't think you can handle America. They coming for your throat, dude. Like,
we are.
And the Great Bear and their full party is going to lose if it keeps falling apart. You're most likely going to have a revolt over there, and you might see something similar.
Imagine that disaster.
No, dude, it's going to be, yeah. So this could happen. Now, it's not in their nature to do it, right? But this idea
about every 80 to 100 years, they have one of those over there. Last one was in 1948.
Yeah, so it's been 80 years. So we're watching these things currently playing out. There's a lot of people's money that has fallen apart. A lot of the middle class there who've been came from poverty and pushed up here is literally not going to be able to buy as much. And again, because I watch this stuff a lot, I think let them eat. What's the word I want to say? Let them, as Marie Antoinette famously said, let them eat cake, right? The poor people. You know, this is going to be the sense of where the Great Bear will say, let them eat flat screens. Right? Because people aren't going to buy their stuff because it will just see what happens. Again, this is working. This is happening in progress as we're watching right now. But what we're seeing is crazy. As if you changed your name to that legend.
He's talking about Baby Draco.
Oh, Baby Draco.
Hey, Crypto Knight, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for coming over and watching us. Having a heavy Technical Tuesday talk about tariffs and the economy and everything else. Got any questions? Let us know. We're more than willing to make up some bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. We're giving everyone some good background on what goes on here.
What's happening here, and also more importantly, like if you have other data that you want me to look at, I'm willing to look at. But my biggest key is I'm looking where the real money is coming in and where the money's leaving. I don't care about what you say. I want to watch where you're putting your money at because that really tells me your truth. And right now, China's playing games, and they're doing it's
China
like
missed their deadline to lower their tariff, their retaliatory tariff. So now it's 104% tariffs on stuff coming from China. There are certain things that come from China that have other agreements that are not part of this. But there's a lot of stuff like it's on the water, like in those ships coming that feed Costco, feed Sam's Club, and all those, in Canada, Canadian Tire, all those things, Walmart. All of that stuff is coming over here. It's going to get 104% increase. So you can, interestingly, you can watch all the world's ships like you can on Flight Radar. They have the same thing for shipping, and you're going to see a bunch of those turn and go to Canada.
Dog, I'm going to send that to me.
Well, they'll offload everything, rebadge it as Canadian, and bring it in under much lower tariffs.
But here's my question, though. If that does happen, it's the same thing that happened with Mexico and China.
Right.
And we saw how that worked out. Basically, Biden was like, F you, get that out of here. Like when we started messing with steel, right? And that was under Biden. What do you think Trump's going to do? He's going to be like, get out of here, Canada. You want to play these games?
Well, it's hard to catch them. Yeah, because the Canadian government turned a blind eye to it because it drove the economy in Vancouver for a while, all the port work that it was getting. And so they were like, well, it's not our problem. But now, this time around, they'll be like, no. This is Chinese stuff. You know, the inspections will go up, the fines will go up.
Imagine all that like material just sitting there. I mean, you talk just sitting in the ports, going just rotting. That's not gonna look good. I mean, and you know, dude, Bassett, and Luck. Did I say it right?
No. It's got an NT. It's a. I've never heard that last name like that. Besant with an NT.
Besant.
There you go.
Besant. All right, there we go. Brain, remember this. Besant. Okay, Besant and Lucknick aren't idiots. They're some of the smartest men in finance that live today, next to Ray Dalio, as well as Warren Buffett and a few more who sit in that. But those are the guys who run. They run from a macro standpoint. They're geniuses. And so, like, they're not going to pay attention to what's actually happening over in Canada. You don't think the Treasury is going to come knock on the door and say, hey, this is violating Treasury and U.S. policy? And he said, he was like, I was shocked how many flights I got to take to, like, basically, like, call uncle, or not call, will make people say uncle by saying, hey, look, stop playing these games you're playing, which I kind of blew me away when he said that. I was like, really? He's the one who goes and knocks on those doors? I would have thought we sent diplomats, but he is the primary diplomat, so now it makes sense. I just figured he sat like in a room and like a mad scientist going, let's do this. Anyways, so now we're getting into the point, because we're a crypto show, that we need to pay attention to what we're going to see here. So because of all this, one, where are the Chinese people? Because they're seeing their dollar and a lot of stuff fall apart. So where do you think they're going to put their money?
Well, ultimately, everyone puts their money where they feel it's safe and they can have access to it, and so it's somewhat liquid. And the Chinese are prevented from taking a lot of currency out. They have all kinds of ways to get currency out, including crypto. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chinese start all of a sudden a huge influx of Chinese people put their money into USDT or USDC or some stable coin that they can get a lot of in China. Because while China has restricted a lot of stuff in crypto and moving money out of the country, because crypto money is never actually in any country, it's not in China to send out. It's just on a ledger. You just change names. No crypto is ever sent anywhere. It's just the ledger changing ownership. Chinese could easily do that. And people forget. They talk about Trump messing around with tariffs, and you're like, oh, you're messing around with the world economy. China and other nations mess around with the value of their currency as much as we mess around now with tariffs.
And we never did that, though.
Right, but China will devalue their currency or upvalue it or change its official rate with the U.S. dollar to suit their needs. And a lot of times it's very disadvantageous to us. And Mr. Trump, at the time, before he was sworn in, was talking about that. He said, look, he said, before, when we didn't have a standard tariff deal, he said, all I did was spend time trying to get people to reduce their individual tariffs and come up with better trade deals. He said, I was on the phone with half the nations every week. He said, let's just have one policy. Let's just do it and save time. He said, plus, every time, he said, if we have a tariff policy, then when the Chinese devalue their currency and make their stuff cheaper, we can increase their tariff by proportionally the same, so their prices stay the same. So that will dissuade them from messing with their currency, which ultimately helps everyone. When governments interfere, I forget what the actual word is, intervene in their currency, it means there's a problem. Because the markets sort out the price of your currency the best. And so when they intervene, it's almost impossible to stop intervening. Because once they intervene, the governments, the Forex traders around the world know there's a problem if they're intervening. And then the Forex traders come in and just blow your currency up. So you have to keep intervening. It's very hard to get, it's like crack, or not crack, it's like, it's like fentanyl. Once you start taking it, it's very difficult to stop. Anyway, I think we've been talking about the yuan a little too long here.
Well, it's important because crypto is bought in huge portions. By the way, I'm about to be on Binance China again, coming up this week. I'm actually going to be there talking about charts. Miss Moonshot is inviting me over, and I just say, look, if you haven't come on, I'm going to talk about charts, and I'm going to bring up China, and I'm going to bring up, or we got to stop mentioning it, bro. As soon as I mentioned it is when everything fell apart on my end. So gotta stop doing that. It kills my, I don't know why, but my system just gets overloaded every time I bring them up. So this is really important to bring up though, is I'll be on there talking about them, and she was like, all right, cool. If you're going to talk about that, that's cool. So we'll see. I might be on Binance TV in China again here, or in.
Well, let us know so we can cover it. Although it'll probably be at a time when I'm driving to Florida again.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be late because their whole entire system is different than ours. So, they are, I think they're almost half the world. I think it's like 8 hours at 10 hours difference, right? Mainland, or why am I forgetting the name of the little island?
Taiwan?
No.
Hong Kong?
Hong Kong. Holy crap, it's so hard for me to remember sometimes. Hong Kong in China, because that's where they do a lot of their stuff. So that's one of those things we're looking at. Now, let's check out.
1 second, we got a question from the audience.
Yes.
You may have already answered this question, but I keep seeing people saying this crash is normal in the cycle before the boom in August, but I have no expertise in that. So what you guys think? And before Pedro might give you a technical answer for that, I'll tell you that if you've listened to our show for the past year, you would have heard us talking about this happening relatively at this time for the past year, regardless of tariffs. Tariffs just kind of like were the extra little to kick it off, maybe a little sooner. But we've been talking about the market coming down to this simply because it's been going up very healthily for a long time, and it can't sustain that. No chart can just moon forever. There's got to be a correction, and there's got to be something. Eventually, risk managers say we got to take some profits, guys, and diversify. So
yeah.
Selling happens, prices come down, economic indicators change certain times of the year. But we've literally been talking about the market coming down to these prices for a year. A year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's move now into where this whole entire buildup is for a reason. Okay. Now, because the top stocks are now coming into areas here, right? Like, look, here is NVIDIA. We talked about NVIDIA while it was up at like the one at the time was like 1,000. Then they had their split, right? But it was sitting up here like that 150, 140. Once we gap down, I said expect us to come up and close the gap and then see the sell-off. We saw it come down, NVIDIA, into the 89 or that like the 89. 91 area. We saw it come through, gap through. Today we saw it, I said, expected to come back, retrace to the 8-period moving average, and then come back down into the 79, 75 area. So we're going to remove this here, down these lower levels, and I'm going to turn this into a flip zone. Actually, you know what? Nah, we'll just do that right there. Boom. Let me do my weekly zone there for a second. Boom. And this will act as resistance here as this starts to happen. And I think it's really important to understand that these levels here, these are going to be strong levels because of the huge sell-off and this huge gap.
Welcome only up to the show. Thanks for joining us. Only up.
As well as a month. Like, look, you'll see what I mean. Right? You see this area here? It was a previous low on the month. So it sold off. and then came back retest on the weekly area here. And you can see now that the 8, we talked about that 8 becoming an actual guide for NVIDIA to come down to. So we've talked about this area here. I'm hoping the $45 mark area for an NVIDIA, this crash, boom, and then a rebound. And so that's what I'm expecting with what I'm looking for with the NVIDIA, right? Google is going to be very similar. We've already seen Google come down to my area here, which is the 150 to the 140. And I'm expecting us, excuse me, to come down even further down to that 74 area here. We've talked about this. We'll probably see a rebound off the 400-day period moving average sitting here, which is the zone sitting here, but I'm expecting it. And we'll see right here. Let me pull this up here so we can, boom. Actually, let me make that green. Actually, why am I doing that? Just right there. Boom.
What is their symbol?
Google G-O-O-G-L.
They didn't switch it to alphabet or anything like that? Oh.
Well, if you just put Google, like G-O-O-G.
Right. Goog.
So you can see here that 400 period of that $100 mark. I'm really looking forward to this area here as we come down. We already know like that 200 period here isn't showing strength. I don't think it's going to hold. If we saw it come down harder and hit that, I would have been like, okay, it's holding it. We see it consolidate, but you can see we didn't even get to it, and we saw it come up retest to see the sell-off. So I'm not putting trust in that weekly 200 period moving average. I'm expecting it to come down to that 400 period moving average in that price for Goog. 104 area to the 100 area here, and potentially down to that 74 area. Amazon, similar situation. It came down to our area here, but I'm really thinking maybe that 64.20 area that we could potentially see a huge crash, then a rebound for that same thing like we talked about with Apple playing exactly how they gapped down, went up, pulled back, and now continuing down from our level here. And I like the 100, 101 area into my area here. Like I said,
let's tell people again why we go over these top tech stocks. Because they make up the top of
the NASDAQ, which controls what?
It's currently
Bitcoin.
Controlling Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, currently controlling. So when we see these top stocks sell off, we then see NASDAQ sell off, which there is a 3-to-1 correlation. Meaning if NASDAQ goes up $1, Bitcoin goes up $3. It's a multiple of 3. Shout out to David Levinson, who pointing that out on his space. If you want to learn not technical, but if you want to learn strong fundamentals from a guy who's been in the market for 40 plus years, jump on, check out David Levinson over on Twitter. He has an open space every single night. Cool dude. I don't think he likes me anymore, but I like his information, and I want people to have that information from a fundamental standpoint. And he's definitely he's not a technical trader, he's a fundamental trader, but he understands technicals fairly well. So we both agree on a lot of the levels that we were talking about.
This guy Pedro, it should be in the background.
Yes, absolutely. That dude is a rock star when it comes to fundamentals. He's been in the game for 40 plus years, knows best it or best. Yes, I said it right. Bassett. Yes. He knows Bassett. Bassett. Bassett.
No, E-N-T.
Bassett.
Right.
Bassett.
No, Ent. Bess.
That's what I kept saying.
No, you said
Bassett.
Bassett. Not.
No, I'm saying Bassett, bro. Stop arguing with me. Let me finish this. So Bassett, what he's doing, and I know they know each other because they all run in the same crew. So, at least they all go to the same bars. Used to go to the same bars. All right, so we're seeing Apple starting to drop here. I expect us to come back down and test that 105, 105 area to about that 110 area. Looking for that bit of a sell-off here. We've already closed below the 200 period moving average on Apple. And then let's check out Tesla. And then Tesla, again, I'm looking at down at that 150 area here. Fingers crossed, and potentially coming back down to that 108. If we're lucky, we'll be able to pick some up at 74. But I'm looking for Tesla to come down to that 150 area. Let's check out Meta. Now, shockingly, Meta has actually held up stronger than the majority of everything out there. So I think the golden goose, honestly, might be Meta. So Meta's been holding up strong. They've got a lot of things going for them when it comes to the stock. They haven't pissed people off like Tesla. Mark Zuckerberg has made it very clear.
He's been quiet. He's been like
quiet. He's been quiet and building. It's like the bear market for crypto. He's kept it quiet. He's been playing it smart, creating the Google Glass, not the Google Glasses, the Facebook Glasses that's interlaying with that is basically incorporating VR and virtual reality. And the other one, why am I forgetting what it's called?
AI?
Wow. No, AI, but also hitting the aspect of his glasses. They're VR, and you can see it in the regular world. So you can see the regular world, and then you can see an overlay of
augmented reality.
There you go, augmented reality. Thank you, guys. So, and I think what is it? Augmented AR. That's what it is. VR and AR. So that's what we're seeing here. And that's why I think they're doing a great job. They're keeping their mouth shut, weathering the storm here. So I'm really also excited about that. So I don't think we're going to see a huge crash when it comes to Meta, just simply because it's kind of a darling. It's holding up stronger than a lot of the other tech stocks. So I'm looking at the 43 or the 423 to the 406 area, and potentially, if we're lucky, it might come either down to that $200 mark or where the 200 period moving averages, which is sitting at that 344 area here, which is still around that same monthly zone here, which we're sitting here. So we'll see what happens when it comes to it, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do here because, again, darlings are always a little hard to call because institutions won't sell them off. They won't just crush them and just try to mess with them. This is where
interesting, Pedro. The head of AI at Facebook, Meta, whatever, is resigning. Joël Penu, Meta's vice president for AI research. In Meta, vice president means you run the division. Said she is leaving at the end of May after 8 years with the company. And it doesn't really say why, but apparently it's a big loss according to this article.
So I could see it coming back down. This might act as news. Now we're definitely bouncing off the 8 or the 20 period moving average on the monthly. On the weekly, we're hitting that 89 to 100. So it's going to act as some resistance. That's why I'm expecting this to come down to these lower levels. And with that news, potentially even pushing it further. But what do we see in this? We see more seller wicks, then we see buyer wicks, right? And because we're seeing as it continues down, we should expect it to see it continue down because of the seller wicks coming in. Let's check out
another story.
Just let me finish because we've been talking all this smack and I want to get into crypto. So all this is the setup so that we can really get in deep with what's happening in crypto. So we understand from a technical standpoint what's actually happening. So I'm watching Netflix crossover on your 8 and 20. We're seeing seller wicks already being established here. Look, this is how they vote with their money. You can see here, these are wicks. So they're communicating that they want to drop it here as we come down. And I'm expecting legitly seeing, I think they'll give up the ghost on Netflix here. I think it may come down here literally to the 463 area to the 445. When that happens, expect a split. Expect them to do a split. Okay, not a split. What do they call that? When they reverse it.
Reverse split?
Yeah, reverse it. Because as they lose money, they'll probably reverse it because this will hit hard on them. So we'll find out what happens. But if they do that, either a split or they might be a reverse split, but this sounds silly. We'll find out what happens. Just expect a split. Most likely they're going to go to a split as it comes down from the 1,000 area to the 55, which would then bring this down to about, I think they'll do a 10 to 1. So it'll be around $40, right? When it comes down to that 40 or the 465 area here, and they'll do a 10 to 1, which will allow people to come and buy, which will put that bottom here, and then you'll be able to buy it around 45 after the 10 to 1 split. So again, if you're looking to short, I know I'm looking to be shorting here once we continue down off of these higher levels. Expected to go down here. Now, all that to say, Bitcoin, oh please, not Bitcoin, here we go. Actually, I could go over that here real quick. This is a picture of the top 10: Tesla, NASDAQ, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, all of these ones here, Google, Meta. When you take in conglomeration of them and give you the mean of all of those put together, this is the actual chart here as we're seeing, and I think we'll probably see it bounce around that 1430 area. But most likely, as these continue down, what are we going to expect? We've been talking about this all day. As we start to see the sell-off happen in BTC or with the NASDAQ, we'll then see a sell-off in BTC. And as we're seeing it continue down, you can see that we've weakened the 400 period moving average. We talked about this yesterday, that we should then see a pullback into, I thought we were going to pull back to at least here. We couldn't even get above the 8 period moving average on the daily. So we're already showing weakness as we're coming down. I expect to see us kind of, we talked about this, acting as support, coming back up and coming down. So I don't expect us to come down to this lower level here just yet, but I do expect us to see it kind of play here and then come down. So that's what I'm expecting when it comes to BTC. Now, we went over a lot of these yesterday. Let's check out ETH. Who was it that was asking us about ETH? It was Shy. Sky. All right, Sky, I know that you're like, dude, you're finally getting to ETH. Come on, bro. Well, you need to understand what's correlated with it so you can play here. Now, we're seeing ETH sell off. I still believe ETH is going to get, by the end of the year, probably 13,000. 10 to 13,000 is what I'm expecting to see ETH, right? Regardless of whether even the fundamentals matter, okay? And the reason why I say this is because where is it getting placed in? The strategic reserve. Anything that's in the strategic reserve needs to be in your portfolio. At least that's what I'm doing with mine. I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but that's what I'm expecting it. So these are the levels that I'm looking at. I think the dollar cost averaging, for me, as we start to move down, is I like the 1,000, but my real area is at 800, as Tom said, that's why I laughed, 800, 900 area here. These levels here are important. As we come down, this will act as a lower low, but not necessarily a lower low, right? It will probably play around here as price comes down into these levels here. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe almost come down here. They might even tap it just below and then scream it up to just take out all the stops right here, which is something that they would do. They being institutional traders. So I like these areas of 1,000 to 800 area for a buying area before we really do see it skyrocket. I think institutions will most likely want to buy it at those levels, as well as the U.S. economy will try to as well, or the U.S. Treasury, because of the stuff that's going on here. Now let's check. We already went over BNB yesterday. You can check us out on BNB, but really what I'm looking at is really sitting at the level of 400 area, the 500 to 400 area here. And this lower level here is what I'm kind of expecting us to find balance, but they've got to push it down below these lows here for that to happen. If we go below the low, the next level here is here. If we go below the low of the 496 area, expect BNB to hit that 416, and we'll see kind of a flash crash come down. We'll see it like kind of boom, come down and kind of play. But it's got to break this level here, which is sitting right here at that 496 area.
Something about it, please.
Next area, let's check out XRP. XRP is doing exactly what we said it was going to do. Kind of come down into these lower levels here. I'm looking at that $1.43 area for myself as we're coming down into this level. Potentially the $1.10 area as we see the sell-off continue within the NASDAQ and as we start to see Bitcoin. But I said, and this was really important to understand, excuse me, just realized I did not plug in my cell phone here. I thought we were going to do a small show here today. And it went longer than what I expected. So let me go ahead and put this here. I just realized my cell phone is about to die. Come on, dude.
It's still working.
Okay. So as we're moving here with XRP, expect XRP to really play around here at these levels here, literally because, again, what is it? It's part of the strategic reserve. And so with that, we should see it come down into these lower levels, get money, or see money picked up there, see coins picked up, and then we'll see it push up again. So I'm liking it at this level. The truth is, man, I don't want to scare people, but we potentially could come back down to the 74 60 or 74 cent area to that 68 area. You can see this was the previous high, right, before we really skyrocketed up. And so I think we're coming back down to these lower levels here. I'm going to let you guys know, I don't want you guys to freak out who are in the XRP army. I know that you guys live and die by XRP, but honestly, if I'm an institution, I want to pick it up at these lower levels here, so I can
not only that,
it.
but people want to take profits in XRP, and that little 5x that it did, you know, and then little dip, and then up higher, and then it's kind of bleeding off a little bit here. It isn't just the market saying ooh, it's also people going, you know what? I've been holding this shit since 2017, and I'm gonna take my money, really, because it, you know, people held on. I mean, it's not going on 9 years. No, not 9 years. 7 years. 7 years, 8 years, whatever. It's 2 full cycles they had to hold on to that. In the last cycle, we talked about this yesterday. You know, you brought it up in the last cycle. XRP did nothing. The whole bull market happened, and Bitcoin went crazy, and everything went crazy, and XRP was like, and the reason is because they were selling it to fund the company. They didn't have their DEX up running, bringing in income. They didn't really have any clients for their CDVC tests and that kind of stuff. So they were selling, you know, tons of it. And they weren't hiding it. They were saying, you know, the money comes out of the foundation. We needed to pay these 1,000 people on our payroll. So we're just selling it. And the army stayed with them. And it paid off. It paid off. As much as I badmouthed them, Pedro, all that time, it paid off. And now people are taking profits, and you're on mute, just so you know.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's go into TRX here. TRX, like I said, it's showing strength here. I think around the level of that 18, we might come down here, but really they're holding strong here. So I'm kind of waiting and seeing what the full scope is going to happen. I am bullish on TRX because out of everybody that is holding, they're one of the biggest ones out there that are holding strong. That means somebody's buying them. Something's actually here, and this I don't fade TRX here. I'm in the midst of this downtrend.
It's a good point, Pedro. You have the daily chart up there.
Yeah, this is the daily chart.
In every other daily chart we bring up, it's just getting smoked these past few days. But look, yesterday, big wick from people buying here, right there. They bought it back. And it never really tanked over the past 3 weeks. 4 weeks.
Now, yeah, so it's kind of holding this area here. We may see a sell-off down to this 18 cent, 17 cent area at that 400 period moving average. But it's strong. It's strong, and we'll see what happens here. But I like it. I like the way it moves. We went over Doge yesterday.
Moves like Jagger. It got moves like Jagger. Come on, I had to do that.
It's okay. It's all right. So we went over Matic. Like I said, I like Matic. It's showing some strength. You can see as every time we went, as we're going down, right, in these seller markets, we have less buyers. As we're going down, they're buying up. You can see the buyer wicks as they're selling off. And so this means that somebody's buying it. And I think it's the institutions. I think we're going to see Matic also be part of the strategic reserve. We don't know it, but Poly potentially is going to happen. Wait, Polygon is part of the strategic reserve. Why am I even saying that? That's silly. Duh. So
you know what? I don't remember them saying that.
I thought that maybe I'm wrong.
Should be there.
Solana. I'm sorry, my brain was thinking Solana.
Ah.
Polygon will most likely, because I know that their home here is in America. They've done a lot of dope stuff, so it would be silly for them not to be adopted into the actual strategic reserve. Let's check out ADA. ADA here is also similar. We can see situation. It's below the 200 period. I personally like ADA for Cardano. Again, this is part of who? Strategic reserve. So expect ADA to be around 44 cents. Either way, as we come to these local lows here, which is going to be that 44 to 42 area, as we see a bounce, I expect we had a good bounce off of here, off of this level, come back down, it came back retest, went up to the seller area. This was the day of the strategic reserve announcement, and you saw it come back down to this lower area here.
They sold that shit off.
Yeah, well, they didn't sell. I mean, they bought, but obviously the institution sold it. Yeah. So as we come down into these lower levels, I'm picking up every time we see many of you guys know we've had these zones up here for what since November of when we saw the big old pump, right? November area for Cardano as it skyrocketed here. So I like these areas as we're coming down. Potentially has say powder for that 27 cent to the 30 cent area if we have a flash crash. I'm saving powder for myself. Again, not financial advice, but these are the areas that I'm really these lower levels here of that 36 cent area here. Let's check out Solana. Solana has finally broken through this area here. Like I've been talking about it coming back down into that 92 area down to that 79 cent area as we're playing here.
$79 area.
Sorry, yeah, $79 area to the 91 area. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's dollars. And then after that, there's nothing there to hold it. If we blow through this area here, which it's picking up steam for buyers, just so you can see buyers stepping in at these lower levels. But in the same sense, if it goes through here, the next level is down at that $16 mark. Yeah, $16.
Wait, what'd you say? $16 for Solana?
It could. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is this: 90. If it can't hold on to the 91 to 79 area, it doesn't hold on. The next level, it's $16. I don't know if the strategic reserve is going to go through, and they may not step in and buy this. This is where they did buy. People bought, and then we saw the sell off here. The next position is $16 if we can't hold on to that why am I on that 92 area. Yeah. So it all depends if they're going to hold, if the strategic reserve is going to buy, which if I'm trying to set up my country, I want it as low as possible. So, like 16 area. And if you are an institutional buyer, you're going, I can buy, we can start to buy here, but if we can pick up 10 times the amount down at these levels and then scream it up, that makes sense. So we'll see what happens, but I'm just giving this is not a price prediction. This is just simply what I'm I was talking about. I was going to be buying quite a bit here, but the more I was looking at this last night, I sat there and I said, there's nothing. And as we keep seeing what's happening with TradFi and the NASDAQ, and if the NASDAQ really pushes hard again, we could see a huge sell-off with Solana, as it follows with the NASDAQ. So these are small entities or small areas that you need to be paying attention to, that if we break through, we'll expect to see a sell-off.
I think your phone died, Pedro.
No, I'm good. I don't know why. I've got my...
Well, it dropped the connection to me. That's all I know.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know why I did it, because everything is cool.
Yep, it's coming back.
All right. It came back. I don't even know why it did that. It's the gremlins again. All right. Let's check into Toncoin, and then we'll go into some of the ones that I've been looking at, really excited about. We're watching here Toncoin coming back down, finding support at that $2 to the $3. Ton again is Telegram's coin. I've talked about Telegram being one of the most powerful platforms out there, just simply because of how the usage, the amount of people that use it. It's secondary to Meta's WhatsApp app, right? And people use both almost simultaneously a lot of times, sometimes with Signal. And that's a hot topic in itself. I'm not going to go there, but just ask JD Vance and the rest of those guys. So anyways, we can see here, we're finding a little bit of a bounce here, but I fingers crossed. Like I said, I'm waiting for that 113 area. You can buy bits and pieces. Don't sell the rest of your powder. Like, look, this area is very much doable. If we start to see a huge sell-off with the NASDAQ, expect that $1.33 area to really step in and hold. Let's check out DOT. DOT is below the lows here. And I said, if we fall below that low here, expect us to come down. And sure, that's why I removed it and said, expect us to come down. You can see right now, we are following the 8 daily period moving average as we're going down, and we're picking up steam for DOT. So DOT is one of the ones that is very much potentially, this is the backbone of crypto, one of the backbones of crypto here. So I like 213, 140 area here. And we'll see. But this will be nuts. If we get down to there, dude, I am going to buy up. Dude, you can stake DOT right now. Legit. Really? I think it's like 7%, 6 or 7%. And when you start to see the sell-off here, they increase their the percentage. So that's why I'm excited about getting DOT at this level, because dude, I should be able to get. I'm pretty positive we will see staking rewards up to 20% coming again when the sell-off. So, kind of get excited about this. Like, if as this continues into the short, we'll be able to do that. AVAX, my friend, I always think about Mr. Alexander. We need to have him back on the show. Let him know, Mr. Chris Alexander. We're seeing this come back down to these lower levels. Again, we broke through yesterday at that 18-19. I thought we were going to hold, but you can see here it's not. And so now we're continuing down. And so that next level is going to be the $11 mark, $10 mark area as we continue. If this does not hold for AVAX, then the next level from the $10, $11 area is literally $2. Yeah. $2. So we'll see what happens.
Not good. El no goodo, as they say in Spanish.
Well,
El no goodo.
AVAX is a great. It's a really great. Blockchain. They're doing a lot there for gaming. They're doing a lot of stuff there in regards to just innovation. And so it ain't going nowhere. So you're just basically picking up Pedro Garcia shoes at a deep discount. Some people, if they look me up, they'll see that that's there's a famous shoe provider guy. Anyways, so I joke around sometimes and I'll say I'm him when I go on. They're like, oh, you just looked me up, Pedro Garcia. And somebody's like, you sell shoes? And I'm like, exactly, Anyways, so let's check out here real quick. For Litecoin, coming down to these lower areas here, is continuing down. That 55 to 49 area is a landmark area. 50, 54, 55 to 49. If this thing can't hold here, next level is literally down at 40 area. So we'll see what happens here. But it's continuing to pick up buyers as we're selling off, as you see here. You can see the buyers are stepping in as we're selling off. So somebody's buying this. We're seeing buyer wakes at levels that, look, hit my level, shot up, hit my level, shot up, boom. So I'll continue. So somebody's buying this. Again, that 55.49 area here is the area that I'm looking to pick up for Litecoin. Shiba Inu, Shiba-Ru, Shiba long stocking, Bone, and all of y'all dogs out there. Expect us to come down into, and it's showing, like, look, we're at these lower levels. You see when we come down to these lower levels that we're seeing buyers step in. See, boom, buyers. So there is somebody that's buying here. They're definitely looking at SHIB. And so for me, like this lower area here is that 86 or the 868 area to the 840. And we'll find out what happens. I would say because of the velocity of the stock market and the sell-off, I think we could, potentially come back and see the lows here of that 627 area. And this is the lows. Go ahead.
When was this big pump right here? This
was February of 2024 here. And I thought it was going to go up, but once we started coming back down, actually it was right here. I thought we were going to come up and tap that 39 area here. And I literally thought we were going to push back up. But once we crossed below the 8 period moving average right here, I said, oh, this baby's coming back down. It's losing its steam. You can see the huge amount of sellers step in at this level here. So when we come down, I even said, I didn't buy enough down at here. And I wanted to buy more of SHIB down at these lower levels here. So I'm looking forward to see it again go up. There's a great ecosystem. You have Bone. You have what's the other ones that they have? Bones.
I can't remember.
Bone. No, not Bong. Bon's not part of them. They have like 4 or 5 of them. So there's a lot of interchange there, and it's going to be really interesting to see if the institutions are fully going to really buy these guys. Either way, I think it's not bad because
I don't think they're going to play with SHIB. I think they'll just be like, nah, got enough to worry about. Just, I don't know. I'm biased on it because SHIB's never been on my radar. I've just never paid attention to its price. I've never paid attention to its ecosystem unless it was forced upon me for content reasons. For some reason, it's just like, and we realize a lot of tokens, coins, blockchains, whatever, there's nothing there. And SHIB to me has always been, well, there's nothing there. They sent some tokens to Vitalik a long time ago. That's their story.
Wow. Well, the thing is they've got a huge following.
That's the point. They got the community.
That's honestly 90%. It's such a big deal. And the reason why I bring this up is one of the biggest issues that the stock market has is that finding liquidity for them to offload their position. So they have got to create fake narratives to bring in buyers or to bring in sellers. Whereas in crypto, you have a community that gets behind a project, and they're always liquidity. They are the forever Michael Saylors that are always topping off on the market. Oh, we're going to the moon, right? Like what was happening when we saw Solana get all the way up to what was it, $300 or $200? Or it was 300, right? When it was getting all the way up there. And I said, y'all, there are so many people who thought it was going to go to 1,000. And I said, oh, no, guys, they're saying we're already seeing like institutions get rid of their positions here with the seller wicks. And so people were throwing shade, but I was trying to let them know this is what we're seeing. So again, I don't see any major blockchain that has a huge following going away by the wayside because it's built-in liquidity for the institutions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Why are you going to
they'll use it as an ATM machine?
That's exactly what they'll do.
Hello, community. We're a big institution. Yay, they're on our side now. No, they're not. They're here to take your money.
And then they'll drop it, and then they'll come in and push it to a new all-time high, and you're like, we're gonna buy, and they're gonna sell off to you, and then it comes back down and creates a higher low, and they'll start to push it up. They'll buy in at the lows, and then they'll push it up, push it up, push it up, push it up, and then what will happen? Create a new all-time high, and then sell it off, because unfortunately,
that's what they do. Anyway, our chief protagonist here, Jesus in San Francisco, in Sucker-Free City.
Sucker-Free City.
Been pimping the baby Draco thing, and he
has.
He brought a bunch of viewers here today, so thank you very much for that. So the least we can do.
Brother. Yes.
But
dog,
Baby
Appreciate
Draco
that.
up here.
Definitely.
And
Let's check out Baby Draco, baby.
His website is designed horribly, but I'll get with it here. Let's see. So far, nothing. Okay, here we go. Once upon a time, an ambitious little astronaut had an idea so great it would get him to the moon. But when he got there, he found out his cosmic companion, Baby Draco, was already there. Moonomics. 1 billion tokens, no tax on buy or sells. Initial LP is burnt, renounced contract. Launched on Lunar Pump Fun. Lunar Pump Fun is Infineon's version of Pump Fun. Very unique name there, guys. Family Draco coin is for family, friends, and community. The rise of Baby Draco, the cutest dragon in the solar system, is officially launched on the Infineon blockchain. Share on X area. Let's just go back up, and I'll click this button called chart, and I'm sure it's just going to be nothing but moon here. And it's not even launching the chart. All right, so try that again.
Give me the contract.
I'm dropping it to you right now.
Let's go. Yeah, it's been real funny. If you guys have any questions, please, the way we work. You just come in and tell us. And we'll go check out that contract. That CA. Drop your CAs in. Come on. Copy selected text.
Okay, here's Lunar Pump Fun. I have it up on my screen.
Come on, work. Please work.
Baby Draco. Hey, everyone. The market might be down, but we're up on the Infineon blockchain.
And that's not. There we are.
Here, I'm sending you the chart, Pedro. Sucker free, send it to me.
Sucker free.
The dip is getting bought up. The reversal is in motion. Smart money knows where the next big move is happening, and Draco is showing strength. The meme is the mascot. The Infineon blockchain is just getting started. It's on April 4th.
Is this going to work for me? Yes. Okay.
Baby Draco.
Yeah, the market's selling off. Things are actually getting going here now. Dang, the S&P 500 just came and it's following. It just fell below the 5,000 mark here again. It looks like it's picking up steam in the last half hour of the market.
Yeah, Nasdaq's down to 17,000. Dropped under 17, 16.99.
Here we go. Boom. Okay, that didn't work. So let's try this. You're sending me this one here. So let's see if this works. All right. That's not going to work. I don't know why my PC always decides it wants to do its own thing here. Come on, buddy. It is loading chart. Loading chart. What's up, Baby Draco? Not gonna work that way. What do you mean? What's gonna happen here? And thank you. Sent you the chart. All right, boom. Okay, where we at? It just launched. You're being bought up. Nice. There we go. Saw a nice little demand wick on this day. Nice little baby wick. Boom, right here. There we are. Baby Draco. Here we are. Okay. You guys are in the supply area here. So this is where the initial sell-off came in. You guys got to get some real You need to go through, and this is where you sit. So you need to make sure that you start to really advertise here, guys, because you're sitting in supply. You could see a pullback potentially down to here and then push up, right? Apart from that, you have nothing to sustain your push up except for, but you already have the sell off here. So this area here, and you could see it push up. So it's something that kind of looks like this, come up and then come down, potentially up from there. Or what I'm thinking about is if you guys really start with the advertising and really start to get it out there, you could see this thing push through here. So it depends on all and how you want to play this coin and what you're looking at. If you bought in at the lows here, I personally would be taking my profit at these points, literally because it would allow me to be able to at least secure my bag at these lower levels. And then from there, whatever it would be. Now, I know you guys have a very small market cap here, which is 26,000. But it just, if you've already made profit here, take a little bit out. You've got about 13K in your liquidity pack. So don't hurt the chart, but we're already going up. Take your profits here because you're already in supply level you're already at a supply area. But on the weekly chart, you actually have the demand wick coming in from last week. So we should see it push up. Only issue I have is just that you guys did not put in a demand wick for this week here. And so I'm a little hesitant. That's why I told you, take your profits and then see what happens here. At least that's how I would play this if I bought in at the lows here. So that's it in a nutshell, my friend. What's up?
In a nutshell for baby
Draco. Now, the other part I want to bring up here is let's check about some of these coins here. Let's check out. And also, what are some of the ones that you're looking at, Tom, potentially, so we can check out?
Well, what I was looking at is this disaster, Ice Raid.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Ice Raid. What happened there?
Ice Raid did not have a smooth launch. It started out with a $3 million market cap, and I covered the launch. We had a live stream for them, and right off the bat, this big sell was the vesting contract provider, because all the team tokens and he gave tokens to a bunch of news sites and all that kind of stuff. The vesting contract, people sold their fee, like $3,000 worth of tokens, within an hour and a half of launch. And we're like, what the fuck is that? And we had Solana to pay them. We should have paid them in Solana, not in the contract's tokens. And then, right above me here, one of the insiders dumped all his tokens. Not team tokens, ones that he bought himself in a pre-sale. And we're like, what the we're like, you need green on the chart. You need green on the chart to do it. And during the process from the launch to here, Solana went from, 130 to, whatever it is today, 10, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You wanted to wait.
Right. I know.
I was like, look, we're going down. Like, I can't. Here's the thing. The fact that they're such a high profile company, I can't sit there and say these things because I could look like I'm doing manipulation. And I didn't buy any. I know, actually we did. The show bought some. I think we did, right?
Yeah, it's a small amount.
Yeah.
That underwater.
Well, that's what I was saying. We should probably wait. But in the same sense, let's talk about where it could go. Now, I do like them. I think they're the bomb diggity. I think what they're doing and a utility aspect behind it is really dope. I absolutely love it. Let's look at the idea. You want to send me the contract here real quick, or at least the website? Send it to me.
I will send it. It's just iceraid.us. It's on our screen.
Okay.
It's been there all day.
Yep,
it's just, it was disheartening. We put a lot of work into this launch. Got on a lot of the major news networks. I mean, literally on InfoWars and Alex Jones, Laura Loomer, Gateway Pundit, all these Washington, D.C. places that cross over with crypto people. And absolutely zero of them showed up. Zero. But, you know, the market cap's gone from 3 million to 2 million. There's still a very healthy liquidity pool. You know, the total in sales has been like $10,000. So I'm complaining. You know,
throw the 8 on.
Oh, sorry. Here, I got to put your chart up. There you go.
No, throw the 8 on it. You didn't send me the contract.
No.
Yeah. And the thing behind it is just it's what it stands for, and the efficiency of it. You should expect to see, you know, like I would expect to see a form of a pullback because it's more utility. It's not, you know, people aren't like, hey, you know, it's not a meme coin, right?
Right.
So it's something to look at. And then let's go ahead and put
moving averages are not good.
There we go. Boom.
Also, just so you know, tonight I may have an ice raid live stream. So if you get the notification going live, I'll be live with Pixie and Jason about ice raid, trying to stir up some interest here and keep people from selling at a loss. I don't understand this selling at a loss thing right when a token launches. Well, that's not a meme that you're not like, oh, they're rugging it. You know, it's just it's an actual real thing.
Yeah, it's got some dope utility, and so the dope utility is one of those things you want to look at. So we want to see it at least climb above the 5-period moving average, 5 and 15 period moving average. That's what we need to see buyers take interest in. You can see right off the jump it shot up. But right here, once it came below here with good volume, you know, and most people don't understand that an 820 is more of a psychological. It has a lot to do with the Fibonacci sequence, and it's based off basically emotion, the way they look at it. And so that's why I always want to see a project stay above the 8-period moving average with good volume, right? And you can see they came in and they just dropped it there. And you can see it really didn't hold any really support, right? You saw the sell-off came in, but it really wasn't showing any support. And then you saw the seller step in and kicked it and just followed the 8-period moving average on that 15. The cool thing behind it is it looks like it's following either the 1 hour or 2 hour, actually the 4 hour here. So it's really the 4 hour. They're following that 8 and 20. So they've really got to get above that 8 on the 4 hour, on the 8 hour with a lot of volume. And then you will definitely start to see buyers start to step back in. But fingers crossed to Jason. I know he creates great utility, phenomenal stuff when it comes to crypto. And sooner or later, he will have his day in the sun where people realize how dope what he builds is cool. So right now, you just got to deal with, one, the institution stepping in, dropping things. So the market cap is 1.9 mil. Your liquidity is sitting around 72,000. So let's go ahead. Looks like that I am slowing down here again. What time is it right now? Oh, because the market's selling off. That's why. So my computer is, that's what it is.
People making bank in the NQ today. Whew.
Oh, dude. My coach has been short literally since I think last Wednesday is when he went short.
He's gonna make a couple of $1 million.
Oh yeah. Wednesday is when he went short. Wednesday or Tuesday. So yeah, this one was. He actually went short prior to that, and then it rallied back up, and so he got out of the short, went long, and then from there I think it was.
Well, since last Wednesday, it's nothing but.
I think last Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday because he went short off of the daily 8, so he played that, and then so he's been short since. 19,
when the 8 crossed the
yep,
the 20
on the daily, yep, Or he didn't really cross. Well, yeah, I think he got in. He's been short quite a bit. Like I know that he got short around the 24,000 area, 24,600. It sold all the way off. It started to come back, and then when it crossed above the 8 period, he started going long again, and then he got back into the short around the 19. I'm gonna say 19.4 area there, and then just saw it just tank here. So, real interesting what's actually happening here. But we're seeing some major sell off here, which is nice for if anybody is short there. Congratulations. I know that today was kind of a rough day to stay short simply because of the pullback, but from yesterday. But man, it's just the last since 8 o'clock or since 11 o'clock this afternoon East Coast Standard Time, we've just seen nothing but blood in the streets. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, let's talk about a couple more of these meme coins here and what we can expect. So we're watching Bone here. Again, I expect Bone as the ecosystem keeps falling. You could pick up Bone at these lower levels of 19 cents. Now I would have to go and check out where it really started at with coin market cap. But either way, we're watching it sit at these lower levels here. So expect a potential sell off to that 19 cent, 1980 or 19, what is that? The lows, 1969 cent area. Brett's definitely hitting our lower levels here, which has been pretty dope. And you can see at these levels here that it's most likely going to continue down. So Brett potential at 15, a whole number, right? That would be the 1.5 cent area that we could see a low below the lows. You can see that they're carrying this down even further. And even though we're seeing volume step in, we're not really seeing demand wicks step in, right? We're seeing primarily seller wicks continue this down. So I'm expecting this could potentially come down to the 1.5 cent area. When you see that, again, that's a whole number. Be looking for something like that to come in for buyers. So you can take, if you're looking to capture some powder off of this, that'd be a good little area myself to be where I'm looking to basically play the perpetuals that you can play off of this. Speaking of perpetuals, how do people take part in shorts and in longs? More
glad that you asked that, Pedro. Right below me, there is a QR code for this company on the stream. I just brought it up, called BidFi. It's our exchange sponsor. They're actually running a new campaign now, and I don't have the graphics for it yet. That they'll give you a whole bunch of money, USDT to trade if you open an account with them and deposit. If you open up a $100 USDT account, they'll credit you $100 that you can trade with. If you open up a $5,000 one, they'll give you a couple of $100 now. I'll get the new details of it, but it's a good deal. They're trying to compete with Weeks and Mexi and all this type of stuff, so they've got some good deals for you to earn money to trade in and do that. I highly suggest using their demo trading platform. You can learn how to go long and go short. Every time I talk about this, someone says, I've never gone short in the market. I don't even really know what that means other than you can sell something you don't own. You do that on a central exchange. It's very easy. It's very common. It happens every day all over the place. And you can learn about it, and you can come here and ask Pedro and I questions. You can say, hey, I was using our BidFi platform, and I don't understand what leverage is. And we'll talk to you about leverage and how to use leverage and that type of stuff. Or not, or just trade and bet that the market's going down. That's BidFi, our central exchange sponsor. Use the QR code. Tell them Tom sent you. Tell them Pedro sent you. Get your free monies.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Crow. You all know that I am a bit in love with these guys. I just think they're the bomb diggity. I, again, could be biased here, but
no.
I think what they've done, you're all no. But
ask Pedro if he's long on Kronos. Yes, he is.
yes, I am. But I love what they're doing from a fundamental standpoint. I think they do a lot. So because they're out and they have a great marketing team, I mean, I just think it's good. So I'm definitely the sell-offs here. I'm definitely looking as we're coming down here. I'm looking to pick up more at the 7-cent area to that 6-cent area. If we come down here and we keep seeing what we're seeing, we potentially could come down to that 6 and potential 5-cent area here. If we fall below this area where the red line is, this is the red line, is let me make that purple. Pardon me. Let's make that purple.
Hey, Jesus, it's interesting. You mentioned the used car prices going up. I'd like to know why. I'd like to understand. That's a little niche of what's driving the economy, used car prices.
Supply chain, dude. Think about China.
Well, I mean, there's a long delay between supply chain from China for cars and supplies and used cars. I mean, Jesus. I mean, he's a specialist in selling 1985
You're right.
Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme or the custom cruiser, the station wagon. So that's where he's getting all his money from. Oh, it's just the market reacting before the actual change in price.
Yeah.
Used car prices shouldn't change at all, but if you can get more money out of those guys, you can just when they come in and say, "Oh man, your car's $1,000 more this month." Why? Tariffs, man. Like that car's made in Detroit, 1985. Tariffs. More money.
More money. So I'm expecting to see Chronos kind of come down to these lower levels of 07 cents, 6 cents. But we fall below that 682. We're coming down to this legitly like around 5 cents. We've already traded through this area. It's already tried to tap here. We have lower highs here coming in, lower highs. So if this comes down here, it should break through this level and come back down to the 5 cent area where you can pick up Crow, 1,000 Crow or you can pick up 1,000 Crow for $50 there. So you could potentially, with $100, you could buy $100. You'd be able to buy, I think, 2,000 Crow at this level here. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's a steal of a deal to purchase it at these lower levels. Again, you can get 6 to 7% at these levels. They will definitely be selling, or I'm going to say selling, but giving away the farm on your staking rewards. You're probably able to pocket 20%. They might even do it up to 50% to get people to buy up Crow.
Hold on a sec, Pedro. Here, I nuked the stream. Not nuked it. There, it's back. Sorry, hit the wrong button.
Gotcha. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
All right. So with Crow, we know that Trump met with their CEO, and I'm still waiting for something to populate with that. It was a good experience. He talked about it on his Twitter. Why do I always want to
Truth
on
Social.
Truth Social. That's what it was. He talked about it on his Truth Social and what's happening there. So I expect to see some real interesting things correlate with that as the huge sell-off comes in. And additionally to that, I am looking at, and this is where, let's check on our memes here. Brett, there we go. Not book of memes. Where was it? Where was our memes? I think it was in Crypto Banter.
Hey, Jesus is bullshitting with you about the 85 custom cruisers.
Oh, I know.
I don't know. I know you know a lot about cars, Jesus, but that 85 custom Oldsmobile cruiser, they had the best commercials of the families fitting in those big things and the kids facing the backwards out the back window. The simulated wood grain on the side of the car. The coach, Wrigley Field's just down the street here, and the coach of the team, 2 coaches ago, Joe Madden, showed up on his first day. Instead of, he's a multi-million-dollar contract, you'd think he'd roll in a Range Rover, a Porsche, or Mercedes or something. Rolls in a 1985 simulated wood grain station wagon. Even made that sound, that 80s V8 sound, and then because you could see him leave the parking lot, when he hit the gas, the torque was so much from the engine, or the suspension was so bad that the whole car torques to the side when you hit the gas. I love that. I miss the 70s and 80s cars.
So
I had a Cadillac sedan, DeVille. 1986 was the second year with the North Star engine in it.
let me go ahead and pull this up here. Freaking, I guess they took more of my stuff away, which I'm kind of frustrated. But let's go ahead. Cryptocurrency. Let's go here to memes. Okay, memes. So Dogecoin, Shiba, that's what it was, Pepe. So let's check out Pepe here real quick. Come on, Pepe. And Pepe, where are you at? Come on, Pepe. There you are. So Pepe did a huge pullback here. Has my computer. Man, this thing, it is crazy the volume coming in on this. It's nuts.
When you look to the side like that, Pedro, what screen are you looking at?
Oh,
you look up like that. What chart is up there?
That is my daily chart and my 5 and 15-minute chart on my other system. So,
I mean, yeah. What is it? Is it the NASDAQ? Is
and,
it a bunch of different things?
So I look at. Oh yeah, yeah. It's the ES. It's just the ES and the NASDAQ. I'm really just kind of looking at that. So we can sit there and pull it. Well, I'm looking at it, and we just saw some pretty big bounce off. And they're taking profit from today. So the last few minutes here, from 1250 on up, there's just been a surge in volume.
Jesus, that car, that Park Avenue with the supercharger. How about the gas mileage on those things? Oh my God. It's
4. But you also, I mean, when you think about it, dude, what was gas? Like, it was dirt cheap, right? I mean, it was negligent. You know, like, it's just nuts. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, not so much. But, you know, it was, you could build those things and not sweat about gas.
And the engines were so bloody inefficient. They're still the old Detroit iron or UAW engines before they invented computer-aided design. There's so much gaps between the cylinder heads and the. It's just.
It was nuts. Absolutely nuts. So let's check out Pepe here. Pepe, we saw the pull up here. This was our sell area. We saw it come back down to this level. Next level here that we're going to see is most likely going to be the, what is that, 50458 area. It was funny. I remember going on Jake Gagan, and Jake Gagan, I think it was back in, I wasn't on his show. I was in the audience, and he goes, "Oh, I hope we see another major sell-off with a lot of the meme coins." And I was like, "Don't worry, you will." And so I posted this this chart here on it. I was like, we should see Pepe get down to like the 506 area. And one of the guys goes, 506, right? Because I was posting it. It was his other friend. I forget his name. And they just ignored me. Like, this was back in here when they had the huge sell-off, and then we started seeing it come down. And so I was trying to go around to all the major, speakers and said, hey, look, we're going to see a sell-off. Like, you're going to be able to buy at these lower levels. Don't, soup up on, where you start dollar cost averaging. And then before you know it, you've got no more dry powder for the lows here. So, like, be ready to be able to buy at these lows. So I like that I like the lower level here. So if you're looking for Pepe, come through. This is a good area to check out. I like this area here. I'm going to be most likely buying up Pepe at that 467 area to the 400 area. I think these are good areas to check out. So definitely be looking at these levels. Potentially, if we get below here, then the next level is legitly the lows here at 50. I think it's 60 or 5. That's 50123 area. So it's going to be a fun ride. And like I said, I'm going to be buying up stuff here, but also more importantly, if we literally see a sell-off here, Pepe, again, Pepe has, this is why I don't think they're going to go away, is again, they have a built-in liquidity system called a huge community. And so it's just going to be mined, like.
Well, maybe that's what's going on right here. The institutions came in,
Yeah,
drove,
absolutely.
pumped it,
Yeah.
and then everyone else FOMO'd, and then they said, "Thank you very much for the monies. We take it now."
Then they're gonna drop it again, and then when they're gonna come and people are gonna buy more, and it's going to be, and then we're gonna see another higher high, probably get to that 3,000, the 403,000. So I'm looking at 50, potentially 60, right? As we're coming down to these lower levels, so that you can pick up. When I say 6 zeros, I mean like I was talking about the 1, 2, 3 area, 50, 1, 2, 3. So these are these areas that I'm looking at, and I'm going, these are good. And I want to add to this point so you can understand. As we're seeing the sell-off come in, we are seeing, look, we're seeing buy volume, right? Like there's good buy volume at these levels, and the sell volume isn't as much. So that's why I'm saying, like, these lower levels, they're being bought up, right? And they're going to try to push it as further as they can, as far as they can, until they see another rally. Once all this craziness stops with the NASDAQ and the tariff war, you should most likely, at least I'm expecting the market just to go crazy nuts. And again, that's going to be like I give it, Trump's got 3 to 6 months to get going with the jobs and to really start pushing that hard. If he can't, stuff's going to hit the fan. But I think he's going to pull it off. We're already seeing, we're literally seeing companies running to him and saying, all right, let's make a deal. Right? And when he sets up the trade deals, restructure everything, and damn, it's gonna be the craziest bull run we've ever seen. That's what I think.
Trust me, if this shit works from the Trump administration, we're gonna be just swimming in the crypto money and anything. All of the markets will go crazy.
Well, here's the thing.
And oil will be cheap.
And oil will be ridiculously cheap. So here's the thing. I've been talking about this almost for a year and a half, right? We were talking about this, the sideways pattern. We talked about when Trump gets into office, expect it to go up, then come down, because at that time we started to see a correlation between the NASDAQ. But as we progress through this period now, I said, all right, guys, well, no, it's correlating well. We should see it then continue down. So for all of us, this is nothing. Many of our viewers, this should be no shock to us. Like, go back to the beginning, if not how long, maybe even last year around this time. We talked about, circumstances. I think it was February and March of last year. I said we should see it consolidate until November when Trump gets in, and then see it pump up potentially. I said we got two options. We're going to see it skyrocket in flight, afternoon delight, and then, or you'll see it pop up and then sell off, right, based off what he's trying to do. I really hope that we could see a major run, right? It's that I really hope, but I just don't see it. Right, but we'll see what happens. And sure enough, we're seeing the market play the way it's playing. So these are nice little things I've been looking at. I don't think we're gonna see a complete drop in meme coin lore. I just think it's gonna be pumping. Oh wow, official Trump, really? Let's check out the Trump coin. Bonk, we kind of went over already, I think. Did we go over?
We didn't go over
Bonk?
Trump.
Yeah, let's go check out Trump here. Trumpity Trump. Sorry. Let's check out Trump here. AI, what was it? Political coins. Come on, political coins. Where are you at?
I've got on the screen playing here. New York is suffering like Ottawa is suffering from is the terrorists marching all the time and making a big racket, and they can't stop them from doing it. They just go out and take over the streets and all that type of stuff.
This is in Ottawa?
In Ottawa, in Montreal, and Vancouver, they're very well organized, and they come out and they raise hell and they smoke up, and it's just like terrorists coming down the street. It's the worst thing, and they keep doing it over and over and over again. But New York City, that people have taken a new tact here. They just started throwing their trash. They're throwing their trash out of their buildings onto the protesters, and then the police started arresting everybody that was running from it.
Dude, there's when I saw what they were doing with, when I went down to New York and saw what was happening with the immigrants, and living, they were not happy. I mean, majority of the people you would talk to did not like the immigrants living in all those great hotels with all the stuff that was happening. And it was funny is that, finally when Trump got into office, that's when you saw their mayor going, I'm switching over. This is nuts, right? When Trump got in, I mean, it was almost literally overnight. He said, yeah, I'm with Trump. Okay, let's get these people out of here. And then you saw those people leave the hotels, and they were living in a lot of nice hotels. I'll just leave it alone. We won't talk about it. It's a sore subject for a lot of people. But they moved them out. A lot of them went home, but there's still a lot in the center of downtown New York. And so I'm just wondering, as they're doing this, these guys, they're done with this. New York is done with it. I wouldn't be shocked if we potentially might even see a red New York. A Republican New York.
Hey, they many times they've elected a Republican mayor of the city. The Republican Party is not dead in New York City, and it doesn't take a lot to turn it around in the city. I mean, Rudy Giuliani was a Republican for a long time, and he ran that city. Here, the people are complaining about, included in the trash was feces from and people were emptying their litter boxes for their cats on. I love it so much.
So you're literally, and this is more of the far left of the Islamic or Muslim, or you were saying?
No, it's just all those idiots that support Hamas, the terrorist group.
Okay.
They march incessantly, and they do it in Ottawa. In Ottawa, the police can't do anything. They're like, wow, it's a protest. Everyone has a right to protest. And I was talking to the cops. I'm like, they don't have a right to protest. I mean, they have a right to protest up at Parliament Hill. They don't have a right to block and close our streets so I can't get to my home. I literally can't get to my home in Ottawa for hours if I'm out. And on Saturday afternoon, Mrs. Striking and I have to be like, we need to get our groceries and get back here. Otherwise, we can't get back here because they close the roads. Protesters are all
Yeah.
And then, God forbid, someone comes out and holds up an Israeli flag.
Oh, dear Lord.
They physically attack them, and the police do nothing. They literally do nothing. They're like, whoa, if we arrest them, it might create a bigger problem. I mean, the cops want to do something. They're like, I want to beat these guys senseless with my baton. But Canadian police aren't allowed to do stuff like the U.S. police.
The U.S. police is legit. Let's check out Trump coin. Speaking of craziness, we're watching it down. So we talked about wanting to get in at certain levels, right? One was that 4 billion, 3 billion. The other one is finally coming down to our lower or the middle zone. We're seeing a little bit of support come in, which is going to be that 1.4 billion to that 1.24 billion. So I'm excited about this level. I'm interested. I want to start picking up some Trump here as this starts to come down into these lower levels. My golden level, if this thing holds true, is going to be around that 62 or 628 million area potentially. Again, these are just levels here that I'm looking at. This thing could even fall further. Again, I'm not dumping everything in this. This is a meme coin, even though it is culturally connected to Trump. Trump said, you know, he says, yeah, I see it. It's happened. We saw it. Cool. But I'm actually holding this for more posterity in case this thing just gets huge. I want to be able to sit there and say, look, I bought in right here. I have Trump coin. So that's where I'm looking at these lower levels here. As we come, we'll pick up some. But right now we're at that 1.5 billion to the 1.2 billion area. So that's going to be dope. And that lower level here. So just giving everybody a heads up so you can put your stuff here. The Melania coin here is, give me 1 second. I think yeah, fell below. Yep. So it fell below our primary areas here. You came in. It is kind of just try to find some support here. Just kind of sold through. And now it's just kind of dying at, say dying, but it's just kind of just consolidating here at that $76 million market cap. And these areas here are probably going to act as a resistance level as we move forward. So we're going to change those to flip zone right here. As I burp in your ear, I'm sorry. Boom. Here we go.
These videos are just not stopping with the people throwing their feces and stuff at it.
Dude, New Yorkers do not play. Bro, you see all the stuff that happens on the subway. Like,
right.
They don't, like, it just doesn't, they don't play. Like, I went there and I was, you know, me and a buddy of mine went to the graffiti wall areas of there, you know, and like old school hip hop stuff, just checking it out. And we were just driving or walking around, and I was asking people, and they were just like, it was really interesting. The more affluent areas, more tolerant, but the air, like as soon as, you know, you're going to, we pretty much started in Brooklyn and cut through, went up to Spanish Harlem, all the way up through Uptown, cross over into the park, and you know, just chilled over at Times Square. Got some. That's when I talked about the pizza and stuff. And as I was talking to everybody, I was like, "Yeah, I just want to know what your thoughts are." You know, I'm a YouTuber, and I won't use your name. I'm just trying to get a feel. I probably talked to about 40 people, just asking questions. People were cool. We were walking along, and I wasn't being a douche. You know how I can be when I'm in front of people. I'm very amicable. I mean, you do like, this guy's amicable? What? I can be very amicable. Be very amicable, very pleasant as an individual. Obviously, a lot of this is, you know, and I'm pretty loquacious, and I typically ramble, but when I interact with people, loquacious. But as I was going, I was like, "Hey, how you guys doing? Hope you have a good day." And they're like, "You too." And you know, a lot of times because it's very busy in those areas, so if you stop and you let people walk by, they appreciate that. You know, especially if they're in a rush. And so most New Yorkers don't do that. They kind of just push through each other, and you know, so you can win favor. There's little social contracts you can build up there. So by doing stuff like that, and the majority of the people I talked to were actually just did not like the circumstance and the situation that's happening in New York in many areas. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen here with what you're saying with those videos. Please is another one. A lot of people got into this in these levels. My level was down in here. So if you're looking to be picking up JD Vance's coin here, you know, he publicly said that's important. Go ahead.
I don't understand please. Is that the way he says the word please or something?
I don't remember, but he got behind it as his meme coin here. So that's why it shot up. Now I am putting this up here now new. It's sitting at this zone area. I didn't think it would fall below here, so it's interesting that it did. But there we go. Boom. Yeah, it bounced off of this area here and then came back down. We'll see what happens here. It's at a zone area here, so I like this zone, but we're seeing volume still strong here. Seller volume stepping in, but we are seeing some buyers, but I don't see it really defense against sellers when sellers step in. You can see there's no demand wicks here. We had one demand wick here, another one right here, but there's more or less just seller wicks as it was coming back up to the 50, and it's been following, it looks like, really that 8-period moving average that it's been playing off of. So yeah, that daily got to get above that 8-period moving average if we're going to stay in on this. The next level is honestly back down at the 300,000 or 3K area. So yep, that's about it with Puis.
Hold on, let me give me 1 second here. I was loading that into the machine here, and it's going to pop up here. Why isn't that not popping up here?
You know, I'm actually really shocked how many people are still with us here. Normally, you know, you guys would be like, we're done. We got 2 people watching, man. So I'm really happy about that.
Well, we've got someone watching us on Twitch. We've got a couple of people on YouTube. Got a bunch of people on Rumble, and we've had 54 views on Twitter on X.
There we go. There we go. Well, thank you for coming in, guys. We're still pumping, still making this stuff. I'm just giving you just hopefully good quality data so you guys can make good and wise decisions and be able to hear different views and perspectives in the market, right? Because the more you understand, or the more you hear, the more you understand, the better you're informed, and you're able to make wiser decisions in your investing or whatever thing that you're doing. I'm telling you what I'm doing, what I'm looking at, so that you guys can make a wise decision. This thing came down to the Eric. Go ahead.
Well, it's all right. Jesus said he's still here, and I said that's only because no one's in his lot buying those rice burners.
Well, I'm glad you're here either way, brother. He got us up on his primary screen there, so when everybody walks in, they're like, "Who are these jokers?" And he'll be like, "Oh, there's a bunch of knuckleheads over here. That guy with the long hair is Mexican, so don't trust him." Dude, I was telling my friend who's like majorly Jewish. I told him about the 23andMe, you know, and he was just like, "Dude, that's crazy." And I said, "Yeah." So, anyways, it doesn't matter. But he thought it was cool.
23andMe.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even. Let's just move on. This will just.
All I know is that they somehow they filed bankruptcy and blew all their money when it's just a cash generating cow. Must have been some corporate accounting trick that they tried and failed.
Well, I think also partly is they hit a lot of negative, what's the word? I wouldn't say publicity, but basically when people said it, you know, from a genetic level, it's not legit. You can't really rely on it, like fully. That's when they really lost a lot of. But during COVID, as things from the Cerveza sickness, we really saw. Y'all don't watch. Oh, there you go. Y'all don't watch these guys. Sorry, side note, totally ADD. But during COVID, they really got big. But then after we saw what was happening, right? Like people kind of was like, you know, this is actually not legit.
No, but I mean, my point is that business is a business you can immediately scale up and down based on how many people are sending in the kits for the tests.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Its operational cost is highly variable. Like, you don't. They must have done some corporate accounting trick to raise money, sold some bonds, something like that. Then when their income came down, they still had to pay their bonds.
Got you.
That's probably what they did. They probably raised money through a bond offering. I haven't read anything about just their bankrupt. I'm like, how could they go? It's an infinitely scalable thing. It's like up or down as quick as possible. If no one sends stuff in, you just don't send anything to the labs. Just lay out, you know, see.
Yeah, it's real interesting. Especially that the majority of their bonds were really kind of low because at the time interest rates were really low, right? And so I'm shocked that maybe they just took the cash and ran it, you know, ran with it. So
we've been on for 3 hours, Pedro.
I know. We gotta go.
I gotta go too.
Tom and Pedro-Damus.
I can't believe we're on for 3 hours. It was I felt we had a great show today.
Yeah,
we had a great show. We had some good content here today. We talked
Yeah.
about a lot of good stuff in the economy. There's messages that we keep getting out, and to be honest, Pedro, with what's going on in the markets, how it matches up with what we've been talking about for a while,
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that we don't have a much bigger following.
You know, I think a lot of times what's going to happen is one or two maybe of our stuff's going to go viral. Like this dude called the market up here and it just went crazy. Somebody will make a thing and before you know it, you know, it will go from, you know, 3 or 4, 10, 20 to, you know, a couple thousand. And I'm expecting that. It's something that I do see happening. And because we keep doing it. And I'm not being shy and going to major people. Right now, we're seeing a sell-off in crypto in the market. Everybody's afraid. It's like when people who are running, you know, a business or not a business. Let's say somebody is running low. It's the first of the month and they don't want to look at their banking, right?
Right.
Their banking account or whatever, right? Because they know it's just going to be low and they're not happy. But because of what we've been doing, sooner or later, like that algorithm's going to sit right. I think we're going to see a lot of people who were once in crypto who were buying at the highs kind of fade out because they're broke, you know. And with that, people are going to come back, and that's right in my ear, dog. Now
I can barely hear it. I don't know why it's so loud for you.
Yeah.
Is my voice really loud in your ear?
No, your voice is perfect.
I don't understand it because I can barely hear that music. I'll turn it off for you. I just put it on so you knew it was on.
Yeah, I got it. But I think that's what will happen. People will come back. We're not going anywhere. I think you got the AOK from your wife now. So fairly. And I think when we start to see stuff hit the fan, we'll be the ones making money. You know, our people make money. We've had multiple people go through and take part in what we've been talking about. And, you know, they're buying at good levels. You know, I've talked about they can get in, but the real area is down at these lower levels that we're now getting to. And I'm really excited about it, right? I think Wednesday we should do a meme, just all day. We just check out memes and go over major meme lore. And, you know, and kind of see what we can do. I think that'd be cool. And I think a lot of people love memes, so.
I do too. It's just the meme market's been so crappy. Maybe we can stimulate some interest.
Well, it's not even that. That's when you want to look at them.
Right.
Is the fact that, you know, like, and we've already seen, I keep bringing up, like, hey, there's buyers stepping in. We're seeing buyer wicks come in on these levels. We're seeing
I'll see if I can get Pixie from Ladies on Sol to come talk about her meme coin tomorrow too.
Oh, I also forgot to say, I have a friend of mine. We're going to bring him on. His name is, I think it's Mike Crypto or Crypto Mike.
Or Mike is our Mike from Manitoba.
Yeah, but I have another friend of mine who's come, and he's huge into politics, and he's got a friend of his. He told me she's really cool, really intellectual, understands the market, and very just a likable person. So I said, well, come on, bro, with you and her, and we can have a good time. So we might be bringing on a couple new guests here that might have fun. So we'll see what happens.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you today. The man in the box next to me, Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst, once again giving you the good stuff on the good stuff. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here on the DYOR Media Network. So glad to have hosted another great show here for you. Hope you enjoyed it. I felt we had a great show here. Our numbers weren't the best, but the Twitter helped us along today. Thank you very much to everyone that watched us on X. And we'll be here tomorrow on Wednesday at 12:30, same bat channel, same bat place. Anyway, thank you, Jesus, for the prolific comments. We'll see you tomorrow.